Imagine getting tossed into a MURIM world, where cultivators and martial artists roam, wielding insane powers. Sounds like a dream, right? Wrong. To survive, you take the only path left, demonic cultivation. The power is unmatched, but the price? Everyone hates you. You're branded a villain, hunted by every righteous sect like you're some kind of final boss. Just when it seems like your story's about to end, fate decides to mess with you. An ancient mirror drags you into another dimension, and boom, you're smack in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. But here's the catch. Your demonic arts? They're perfect for this world. You start turning transcendent humans, basically the strongest of the strong, into unstoppable, overpowered zombies. You build an army, and when the mirror spits you back into the MURIM world, you're not the same. You're a monster now, stronger than anyone can imagine. And the best part? You can jump between worlds. The righteous sects that once hunted you, they're about to regret every damn decision they've made. It all starts in Shinhi City, where rumors are spreading like wildfire about the notorious Wuji sect, infamous for their gruesome demonic arts. Fear grips the city, but some reassure the crowd that righteous cultivators have arrived to destroy the sect. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure passing by overhears everything with some kind of secret technique. He pauses, tilts his hat and turns back. He mutters, "Looks like I can't stay here for long. I've been hunted by these bastards for over a year now. What a pity to live like this." That's Chu Xian, our protagonist. And guess what? He's an inner disciple of the Wuji sect. The sect that sends people and righteous cultivators into a frenzy. But as I mentioned, he's not even from this world. Chu Xian is an earthling who got ice-skate into the Chagzun continent with no family, no background, no cheat system, no maxed out stats, and no girl. Poor guy. But our MC isn't having it, so he took matters into his own hands, walking the dark path of demonic cultivation. Through sheer grit and ruthless determination, he clawed his way into the Wuji sect, the largest and strongest sect in Yugua. To survive, he mastered everything: worm cultivation, poison arts, disguise, corpse puppetry, you name it. After years of relentless effort, he finally reached the chi refining stage, poised to be accepted as an inner disciple by the sect elders. But fate had other plans. Out of nowhere, the first ancestor of the sect went mad and perished, leaving the Wuji sect vulnerable. The 5 major orthodox sects pounced, branding them a demonic cult and slaughtering them mercilessly. The Wuji sect was obliterated, its disciples massacred. The few survivors, like Chu Xian, were now hunted like animals. Back in the present, Chu Xian leaned against a shadowy wall, his hat falling to the ground as a wave of pain hit him. His voice was strained, trembling with desperation. The blood transformation and soul seizure art. It needs so much blood essence, feeding the worms flesh and blood. If I don't get resources soon, the backlash will kill me. But he gritted his teeth, pushing himself forward. A cold resolve filled his gaze. Today, he was going to meet someone, a surviving junior disciple, his only hope to replenish his resources. He turned back to a bar behind him and spotted a figure cloaked in blue sitting alone. The figure seemed to shift uneasily as Chu Xian approached. With a nervous smile, the junior disciple greeted him cautiously. "Brother Chu Xian, you're finally here. You don't look well. Are you alright?" Chu Xian's gaze was cold, his piercing eyes betraying no emotion as he cut straight to the point. "Have you brought the items?" The junior brother hesitated, glancing around nervously, his hands trembling slightly. "Brother, you're still practicing our sex techniques? If the orthodox sects find out, you're dead." Chu Xian's expression darkened, a sharp edge cutting through his words as he replied, his tone icy and laced with frustration. "They've already sentenced us to death. Whether I cultivate demonic arts or not, what difference does it make?" The junior disciple's hands fumbled as he handed over a bag of demon beast blood beads, their crimson glow reflecting in Chu Xian's eyes. But then, a chill ran down his spine. His instincts screamed at him, his body tensing as he discreetly activated his listening technique. The tiny snail embedded in his ear came alive, and what he heard sent a surge of cold fury through him. "Using a traitor to lure out these Wuji stragglers. It never fails. Once we capture him, strip him of his belongings and drain him dry, we'll be rich." Betrayal. Chu Xian's knuckles turned white as he clenched the beads, his calm exterior masking the storm brewing within. "Junior brother, I still need the blood spirit pills. Can you get them?" Xian's voice was calm but commanding, his cold gaze fixed on his junior brother. The younger man hesitated, shifting uncomfortably before responding. "I do have some, but they're usually for Foundation establishment cultivators." His voice trailed off as realization struck, and his eyes widened with excitement. "Could it be that you? Have you found Uncle Lu and the others?" He shot to his feet, his excitement almost tangible. But Xian's expression didn't waver. Instead, his gaze grew sharper. Don't ask questions you shouldn't. His voice was as cold as ice, leaving no room for argument. If you have the blood spirit pill, take it out quickly. The sudden chill in his tone froze the younger man in place, but anger quickly replaced the excitement in his eyes. The blood spirit pill is expensive. The junior brother snapped, his voice rising. Senior brother, you probably can't afford it, can you? But then, a sly grin crept across his face as he leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to something more calculated. If you take me to Uncle Lou, and we get protection from a foundation-building cultivator like him, I'll give it to you for free. He paused for a moment to let his words sink in before adding, I'll even throw in a middle-grade spirit stone. A middle-grade spirit stone, worth 100 low-grade spirit stones. The offer wasn't a small one, but Xian didn't flinch. His lips curved into a faint grin as his hand reached for his chin, his expression unreadable. Although the risk is high, seeing how sincere you are, he handed over his own middle-grade spirit stone with an air of calculated calm, his smirk hinting that he already had a plan brewing to get it back. Without another word, the two left the bar, the tension between them simmering under the surface. From the shadows, a group of men watched their departure with sinister smiles. He Liang went with him, their leader said, his voice dripping with malice. Unexpectedly, today we've caught a big fish. His grin widened as he continued, if we capture another foundation-building cultivator, the rewards will be incredible. Not just the sect's merit rewards, but even the dead's assets would be worth far more than wasting time on self-cultivation. The men chuckled darkly, their eyes gleaming with greed as they moved to set their trap. At the temple, the atmosphere grew heavier with every step down the underground tunnel. The damp air clung to their skin, and the flickering torchlight cast eerie shadows on the walls. Junior brother broke the silence, his voice tinged with both admiration and unease. Senior brother is still the most reliable. This small courtyard and the underground tunnel are truly flawless. But how much longer do we have to walk? His voice wavered slightly as he glanced around, the growing darkness gnawing at his nerves. We're almost there, Xian replied, his tone steady and emotionless. But then, he stopped abruptly, turning back to face his junior brother. His crimson eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and his lips curled into a chilling smile. But if you're in a hurry, junior brother. His voice dropped, dripping with malice. Senior brother will accompany you for a while then? Before the younger man could even process the words, Xian struck. The force of the attack was brutal, sending the junior brother flying backward. His body crashed through the temple doors, splintering wood and stone, before skidding across the rough stone floor outside. The ambushers outside are confused and shocked, unable to do anything, so they rush to their injured ally. Blood smeared the ground as Liang struggled to lift his battered body, his voice weak but urgent. Downstairs. His words came out in gasps as he pointed a trembling hand toward the temple. Chu Xian and Lu Jinxiong are both downstairs. Don't worry about me, don't let them escape. The ambushers outside sprang into action at his words. Rush in. Kill everyone, their leader barked, his voice sharp and commanding. They stormed down the stairs, but as they reached the bottom, they froze at the sight before them. A shriveled corpse lay sprawled on the ground, its skin clinging to the bone, as if it had been drained of all life. Huh! Someone muttered, their voice trembling with confusion. Master, there's a dry corpse here. The leader stepped forward, his expression darkening as he crouched beside the body. With a flick of his magic, he analyzed the scene, his voice grim as he whispered, how brutal. The skin and scalp have been peeled off. His eyes widened as the realization hit him like a thunderclap. Is this Liang? His voice cracked with panic as he shot to his feet, his gaze darting toward the stairs. The one outside is Chu Xian. Head back. We've been tricked. Far away, outside Jinghe City, Xian tore off the human leather mask, his face twisting in disgust as he tossed it to the ground. The temporary human leather mask is really uncomfortable to wear, he muttered to himself. His eyes narrowed as he reflected on the events that had just transpired. Thanks to the listening bugs, I was able to figure out the ambush in advance and see through He Liang's betrayal. His voice was calm, but a flicker of bitterness lingered in his tone. But even if I can escape for now, how can I escape forever? He gazed into the distance, his thoughts growing heavier. Am I supposed to join those orthodox sects as well? No, it's not possible. If I changed my path to the orthodox sect, I'd have to discard all my previous cultivation, which carries a high risk of backlash. More than that, with my aptitude, cultivating righteous techniques might mean I'd never even reach the foundation building stage. Only demonic arts, with their low thresholds and quick results, can give someone like me a chance at immortality. His voice was steady, filled with quiet determination. Later, in a glowing cave, Chu Xian examined his spoils, his hands trembling with anticipation. Among them was a mysterious artifact from the Wuji sect's treasure vault. As he activated it, a vision of a ruined, apocalyptic city appeared, sending a jolt of shock through him. Why does this look like Earth? My Earth, but destroyed. What the hell happened? Before he could react, the artifact pulled him in, and he stumbled into the desolate wasteland, his eyes widening in horror at the scene before him. A zombie gnawing on a corpse. Zombies? What the hell is this? The undead swarmed him, their groans chilling his blood, but Chu Xian's survival instincts roared to life. Blood-red worms erupted from his hands, slicing through the zombies with savage precision. He watched in stunned amazement as the worms thrived on the zombies' flesh, a twisted hope igniting within him. Wait, could zombies count as living beings? If I use their flesh and blood to cultivate my techniques and feed the worms? His dark grin returned, his heart pounding with exhilaration as the worms feasted. This entire city, no, this entire planet will become my resource pool. Killing zombies won't provoke heavenly punishment. I can cultivate freely. I can finally pursue what I never dared dream of before. Immortality. As more zombies charged toward him, Chu Xian stood tall, his blood worms writhing in anticipation. His voice was calm but resolute, filled with unshakable determination. Eternal life, no matter the cost. On a mountain of rotting zombie corpses, Chu Xian stood tall, his long robe stained with blood and his crimson eyes gleaming with satisfaction. A grin tugged at his lips as he declared, "In just a short while, I've broken through from the 4th to the 5th layer of chi refining. This place truly is a holy land for cultivating demonic arts." Below him, weak zombies aimlessly shuffled, searching for prey. Chu Xian glanced down at them, unimpressed. However, personally hunting down zombies to absorb their energy is too damn troublesome. It's time to try refining some corpses to do the work for me. He rubbed his temple and sighed, his disdain evident. But refining corpses requires strong bodies filled with deep resentment as the material. Only then will the refined corpses have good potential. His gaze returned to the pathetic zombies beneath him. Their sluggish movements and empty eyes annoyed him. These guys? Worthless trash. Impossible to work with. Straightening his posture, he crossed his arms behind his back in a commanding Napoleon pose and announced, "Oh well, for now, I'll use this place as a temporary base. In such a large mall, I should be able to find new suitable targets." The scene shifted to a bespectacled man, his face pale with fear, surrounded by a horde of hungry zombies. He screamed desperately, "Tiger bro, please save me!" His eyes darted to a blonde man standing smugly on the upper floor, clutching a bag of supplies. "Didn't you say that as long as I distracted the zombies, you'd come save me once you finished collecting the resources? My mom and sister still need me. I can't die here." But the blonde man's response was anything but sympathetic. With a wicked smile, he taunted, "Oh dear, I think I forgot to tell you. Your mom died yesterday. How could the Linquan gang waste resources on a 60-year-old woman?" The bespectacled man froze in disbelief, his voice trembling. "What did you say?" The blonde man shrugged nonchalantly, turning to leave. "Thank you for sacrificing your life for me. After you die, I'll take care of your sister." The bespectacled man screamed in despair as the zombies closed in, ripping into his flesh. With his dying breath, he cursed, "Tang Hu, you'll definitely receive your retribution." But Tang Hu, the blonde man, only chuckled darkly as he dashed off with his supplies. "Humph, what retribution? The rules of this world have always been survival of the fittest." Unbeknownst to him, someone was watching. From the shadows, Chu Xian observed the scene with a calculating gaze. A twisted plan formed in his mind as he muttered to himself, Wait a moment, this man's physique is quite impressive. Perfect material for refining a corpse." Tang Hu stopped in his tracks, sensing danger. He turned to see Chu Xian standing eerily still, his strange outfit and aura instantly filling him with unease. Pulling out a dagger, Tang Hu snarled, "Who the hell are you?" Chu Xian's lips curled into a sinister smile. "I mean, your physique is quite good. You'll make a fine servant for me." Tang Hu's face twisted in anger. "You're courting death," he roared, lunging at Chu Xian with his dagger. But before the blade could reach its target, a red flash sliced through the air. Tang Hu stumbled back in shock, staring at his broken dagger. The source? A bloodworm, writhing and biting the blade into pieces. Tang Hu clutched his bleeding palm, his confidence shattered. Fear crept into his voice as he thought, "This man, he can control insects? Is he a transcendent being too? There's no way I can beat him." Quickly shifting tactics, Tang Hu put on his most charming smile. "My brother-in-law is Zhao Hong of the Linquan gang. For his sake, let me go. You can even have this bag of supplies." Chu Xian raised a brow, unimpressed. "The Linquan gang? Tang Hu nodded eagerly. Don't you know? The Lingquan Gang is the largest organization in Dongwu City. My brother-in-law, Zhao Hong, is the leader and a transcendent. He's 10 times stronger than me. Chu Xian chuckled darkly, his voice laced with mockery. If he's only 10 times stronger than a mere mortal like you, then there's nothing to worry about. Before Tang Hu could respond, Chu Xian's bloodworms lashed out, binding him in midair. Tang Hu screamed in terror as he was dragged toward a golden ritual cauldron, surrounded by glowing red sigils and 4 skulls. Once I use my secret technique on you, Chu Xian explained coldly, you'll become a sturdy corpse soldier. Tang Hu thrashed against the bloodworms, his voice breaking. Wait. We have no enmity between us. Why are you trying to kill me? Chu Xian leaned in close, his voice a chilling whisper. Didn't you just say? The rule of this world is survival of the fittest. Killing someone like you won't even diminish my karma. With a flick of his finger, Chu Xian released Tang Hu into the bubbling cauldron. Tang Hu's screams of agony echoed through them all, fading as his body dissolved into the boiling liquid. Moments later, blue liquid shaped like skulls dripped from the cauldron's edges. Chu Xian watched with gleaming eyes as the refining process began. You're simply perfect for refining into a yin corpse. The Vajra corpse refining technique of the corpse puppet sect will make you impervious to blades and spears, with immense strength. Once complete, you'll rival a chi refining stage cultivator. 3 days later, a red hand with sharp claws emerged from the cauldron. Tang Hu had been reborn, a grade 2 corpse soldier with glowing red eyes and a fiery crimson light burning in his stomach. Chu Xian clapped his hands, grinning. I can't believe my first corpse refinement was such a success. Summoning a magical tool in the form of a red tower. Low-grade magical tool, corpse nurturing tower. Used for storing, nurturing, and appraising yin corpses, Chu Xian shouted. Appraisal! The tool analyzed the new yin corpse and returned its details. Grade 2 corpse soldier. Innate spells, bloodthirst technique, golden light incantation. Chu Xian couldn't hide his excitement. Not bad! It's not only reached grade 2, but its innate spells complement each other perfectly. This yin corpse could even rival a chi refining 4th layer cultivator. He turned to his new creation, a proud smile on his face. I'll call you Xiao Xi. Now go and collect zombie flesh for me. With a growl, Xiao Xi leapt into action, tearing through hordes of zombies with ease. In a flash, he returned with a shopping cart full of zombie corpses, presenting them like groceries. Chu Xian, casually eating ramen, patted Xiao Xi's head. Well done! You've greatly improved my cultivation efficiency. Chu Xian mused to himself. Who would have thought that someone like me, barely surviving in the Tsengshuan continent, would become a powerful figure with life and death at my command in this world? All of this is thanks to the blood mirror that brought me here. His expression darkened slightly as he glanced at the now pitch-black mirror. It's unfortunate that the teleportation stopped working, but no matter. I'll continue to cultivate my demonic arts on this zombie-infested planet. When the time is right, I'll return to the Tsengshuan continent stronger than ever. And with that, the demonic king of 2 worlds plotted his next steps. The Haohai Hotel is where it all begins, a high-rise bloodbath waiting to happen. Here, we find a trembling guy in a green jacket bowing his head trembling in fear. He's stammering apologies to a man who looks like Toji Fushiguro's terrifying long-lost cousin. But he isn't the real boss here though. The real boss is Zhao Hong, the Lingquan gang leader, and let's just say his patience ran out about 3 weeks ago. Zhao Hong, seated like an emperor with his wolf beast by his side and a girl draped on his arm, stares down the green-jacketed fool with a face so serious and a head so shiny it reflects light itself. You promised me you'd find out what happened to Tang Hu within half a month, he growls, his voice low and menacing. The guy in the green jacket, practically collapsing under the pressure, drops to his knees, begging, Boss! But Zhao Hong isn't having it. He leans forward, his tone sharp enough to cut steel. It's already been a month! The room feels like it's shrinking, the air heavy with tension. Zhao's wolf beast steps closer, teeth bared, and the green jacket guy starts babbling like his life depends on it. Because, well, it does. Boss, I've found out. Brother who went missing at Zairanfa Mall, but it's dangerous there. 2 of my men already went missing investigating it, and I think there are advanced zombies there. You can't blame me. Only you, boss, can deal with those. For a moment, it seems like Zhao Hong might spare the guy. He even pets his wolf beast, looking almost thoughtful. You're right, he says, his voice calm like the eye of a storm. It's not your fault. After all, you're not a superhuman. Relief floods the green jacket guy's face as he stammers his gratitude. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. But Zhao Hong's calm snaps like a twig. His wolf lunges, jaws snapping, and in moments, the green jacket guy is nothing but a meal. Zhao wipes his hands clean of the useless ordinary person and turns to his right-hand man, Wang Bao, the one who looks eerily like Toji. Dead or alive, find him. Take De Huang and Air Hay with you. We're going to Zairanfa Mall. Cut to their tank-like car roaring through the zombie apocalypse. The Linquan gang makes an entrance like a wrecking ball, smashing through hordes of undead like they're nothing but speed bumps. By the time they reach Zairanfa Mall, the parking lot is littered with mangled zombie corpses. But something feels off. The air is too still, too clean. Xiao Hong steps out, his 2 wolf beasts, one gray, one golden, at his side. His eyes narrow as he surveys the scene. Strange. The zombie's here. His voice trails off as he orders his wolves to scout ahead. You two, go in first and check things out. The beasts obey, their growls echoing through the eerily silent mall. As Zhao follows, a strong, unmistakable scent of blood hits him like a slap. His gaze snaps to a row of metal barrels, and his expression hardens. What the hell are these things? Before he can make sense of it, his golden wolf barks violently, its eyes fixed upward. Zhao looks up and freezes. Dozens of zombie corpses hang from ropes, swinging like grotesque decorations. His lip curls in disgust. Ugh, what kind of pervert? Is this really something a human could do? Could it be that Tang who was defeated here? Wang Bao, ever the loyal second in command, looks to his boss for direction. Boss, what should we do now? Zhao's face darkens, his aura igniting with a blue flame of pure fury. Whether it was done by Black Blade Security or someone else, he snarls. This debt cannot be settled just like that. His voice booms through the mall. Daring to mess with Zhao Hong's underlings from the Linquan gang is the same as messing with me. I won't rest until I find the culprit and turn them into a dried corpse. Meanwhile, in an entirely different plane of existence, we shift to the MURIM world, a place where spiritual energy flows like a river and grudges are settled with blood. Within a cave on the Tsengshuan continent, a purple glow fills the darkness. Out steps Chu Xian, our boy, looking as fresh as a villain straight out of a power-up montage. He stretches, breathing in the abundant spiritual energy. I'm back, he declares, his voice dripping with confidence. But of course, trouble is already waiting for him. A group of Shenwang family goons stands at the ready, swords drawn and eyes burning with vengeance. Their leader snarls, Chu Xian, you're really running. Last time, you escaped right in front of Xu Shirquan, and we were punished for it. But now, there's no way out. Chu Xian doesn't even flinch. Instead, he smirks, his tone laced with mockery. A few 5th-level Foundation establishment grunts dare to make noise in front of me? What arrogance! The leader's patience snaps. Attack! They roar, and the group surrounds Chu Xian, blades gleaming. Big mistake. Chu Xian's hands move in a blur, and with a sinister grin, he unleashes his upgraded blood steel threads. Long, crimson worms shoot from his palms, tangling the ambushers midair like marionettes in a twisted puppet show. Screams fill the cave as one of them shrieks. How can this be? Weren't you only at the 4th level of chi refinement? Chu Xian laughs darkly. Your information is outdated. My cultivation has already reached the 6th level of chi refinement. The leader stares slack-jawed. That's impossible. It's only been 3 days. How can you break through the 6th level? Chu Xian's mind races. Wait, 3 days? He calculates quickly. I've been inside the Blood Mirror world for a month, yet only 3 days have passed here. The time difference must be about 10 to 1. Out loud though, he's all business. Let me ask you, besides you few, are there any other reinforcements pursuing me? Did that Foundation establishment master of yours come as well? When his question is met with silence, he tightens his grip on the threads, splitting one poor soul into bloody chunks. Answer me, or this will all be your fate. Terrified, the remaining ambushers spill everything. We're the only ones here. There's no other reinforcements. Master thought a few of us could handle you, so he didn't come. Chu Xian's smile turns cold. Really? Then I don't need to worry. The ambushers dare to hope. You said you'd let us go. But Chu Xian interrupts, his threads slicing through them like a butcher carving meat. Blood splatters the cave walls as he licks the crimson from his hands, a satisfied smirk curling his lips. Did you actually believe that? After all, I'm the ruthless, cold-blooded demon Cultivator. Watching his blood worms devour the remains, Chu Xian reflects on his recent gains. Blood Mirror. I only had a single bloodline, and now, not only has my cultivation reached the 6th level of chi refinement, but I've also mastered the innate technique Blood Nourishment. On top of that, I have a 3rd-level zombie as a trump card. He steps out of the cave, now standing on a cliff overlooking the kingdom below. His gaze sharpens. I must break through the realms even faster to extend my lifespan. The blood furnace on the zombie world provides endless resources, but I still need materials from the Tsengshuan continent. The next time the blood mirror gains energy, I'll have to restock before that. The bustling energy of Tsengshuan Market was almost overwhelming, with the air thick with haggling voices and the aroma of rare herbs and exotic wares. Chu Xian strolled through the crowd, his mind preoccupied. He silently calculated his inventory, thinking about the materials he'd gathered for refining the corpse. He had the rare heavenly treasures locked down, but the most essential item? Nowhere to be found in the usual markets. He'd need to dig deeper, find the right channels. His thoughts were abruptly interrupted when his sharp eyes caught something familiar glinting under the sun at a vendor's stall. His heart skipped a beat. What the hell? That's the Wuji Sects token, the withered bone. His eyes narrowed as he approached the vendor, his face a careful mask of indifference. Fellow Taoist, he said casually. How much for one of those Tsilong melons over there? The vendor, a rough-looking guy with a slick, gangster-like expression, glanced at him lazily. 7, no, 2 small spirit stones each. Chu Xian raised an eyebrow, incredulous. 2? What, is the melon skin made of gold, or is the flesh gold? You running a luxury market here? The vendor smirked. You think it's expensive? I think it's expensive too. But these melons? They're scavenged directly from the ruins of the Wuji sect. You won't find these anywhere else. Pick one for me. Chu Xian ordered, his tone sharp. The vendor grabbed a melon and handed it to him. Chu Xian inspected it, his expression critical. Does this ripen well? What about the seeds? The vendor looked slightly annoyed. I run a herb stand, not a melon farm. How should I know? Chu Xian's gaze darkened. I'm asking you, does it ripen well? The tension was palpable, and the vendor's demeanor shifted. He lowers his voice. If you're willing to pay top price, I've got even better quality stock in the warehouse out back. All right, Chu Xian said, his voice low but firm. Take me there. Once in front of his house, the vendor's tone became respectful. May I ask which senior brother I have the honor of speaking to? Chu Xian removed his hat, revealing his identity. Chu Xian. The vendor's eyes widened in disbelief. Senior brother Chu? It's really you. I'm Qianlong. I joined the Wuji sect in the same batch as you. You probably don't remember me, but I've always admired you. Among us grassroots outer disciples, you were the one who stood out the most. I never thought I'd be exchanging secret signals with the legendary senior brother Chu. Qianlong practically buzzed with excitement, circling Chu Xian like an overzealous fanboy. Uncle Lu and the other senior brothers are hiding in the Wu family manor in Taiping Town. When we heard 3 days ago that you killed that traitor He Liang, it gave everyone hope. You're a legend, senior brother. Chu Xian scoffed, his tone cold. So the third elder's direct disciple, Uncle Lu Jinxiong, is still alive, hiding in plain sight within Shigang sect territory. Clever. No wonder they haven't found him. Qianlong's enthusiasm didn't waver. Senior brother Chu, you should join us. Us Wuji sect cultivators need to stick together now more than ever. Chu Xian waved him off. I'm just here to buy something. Qianlong's face fell slightly, but he composed himself. What are you looking for? I need a blood transformation grand array. The words hit the air like a hammer, and Qianlong froze, his face twisting in shock and horror. What? Chu Xian remained unfazed as he explained. The blood melting formation is a tool often used by demonic cultivators for large-scale blood sacrifices. It's infamous for its ability to refine the 10,000 souls blood pearl, used to lay a powerful foundation. There was even a demonic sect leader who once sacrificed 300,000 lives to cast the citywide blood melting formation. It's simple yet devastating, capable of mass murder even when wielded by someone in the chi refining stage. But, and here, his voice dropped chillingly, I'm not planning anything that extreme. I'd deploy it on a zombie-infested planet, no harm to the heavens, and it might even earn me some merit. Qianlong looked pale, his voice trembling. Brother Chu, the 5 major sects are cracking down hard on anything related to demonic arts. If you activate that formation, they'll come for you. Chu Xian's gaze hardened. That's not your concern. Do you have it or not? Qianlong hesitated before mumbling. I know someone who does. They soon arrived at a secret Wuji sect stronghold, where a towering, jacked man stood like a sentinel. Su Ming, once ranked 11th among the inner disciples, greeted them with a sneer. The blood melting formation? Yeah, I have it. But why should I sell it to you, Chu Xian? Chu Xian's eyes narrowed, his thoughts racing. Of course, it had to be Su Ming. They'd butted heads plenty in the past over resources, and it was clear Su Ming was relishing the thought of seeing him fail. But not this time. Chu Xian reached into his bag and pulled out his trump card, an entire sack of glimmering blood pearls. Qianlong and Su Ming's jaws dropped. Blood pearls? So many? How many lives were sacrificed for this? Another voice chimed in, dripping with awe. to refine this many blood pearls under the Shigang sect's watch. Junior brother Chu's power has surpassed all of ours. It was Wei Hua, ranked 12th among the inner disciples. Su Ming's thoughts churned with frustration. Damn Chu Xian, always outshining him. Fine, he sneered. 200 blood pearls, and the formation is yours. Chu Xian gave a cold laugh. Greedy, aren't we? Wei Hua stepped in, his tone reasonable. A basic formation like this used to go for 80 blood pearls tops. Su Ming, we're all from the same sect. This is unreasonable. But Su Ming wasn't backing down. Even between brothers, accounts need to be settled clearly. I'm the only one with the blood-melting formation, and without it. Chu Xian cut him off, his voice laced with quiet menace. Su Ming, are you misunderstanding something? That formation is worthless if you can't use it, which means it's already devalued. Meanwhile, you're desperate for blood pearls to fend off chi deviation. So tell me, who's the one really in need here? Su Ming's bravado cracked. Fine, 80 blood pearls. 60. Chu Xian countered. Su Ming bristled. Why are you still haggling? If you won't sell, I'll leave. Chu Xian said flatly, turning to go. Wait. Su Ming practically panicked. Fine, 50. Chu Xian smirked, handing over 60 blood pearls. You're wise to agree. The blood-melting formation was his, and Xian wasn't about to let anyone take it. In his mind, he was already scheming. He had plenty of blood pearls left, so why not offer a little more goodwill? Chu Xian spoke up, his tone calm but firm. Senior brother Wei Hua, if you want the remaining blood pearls, you can exchange them with me for spirit stones. The brunette's eyes lit up, clearly struggling to hide his desperation. Well, thank you, junior brother Chu. We're currently in dire need of blood pearls. These things are worth more than gold on the market. With a smirk and a quick dab of his hands, Xian made the deal. 30 small spirit stones for them at a premium. The brunette added, sealing the exchange. Xian's mind was racing as he pocketed his newfound resources. With these, when he returned to that godforsaken doomsday planet, he'd be able to skyrocket his cultivation. He could already taste the power. As the brunette and the melon guy, his other junior, bid him farewell, the brunette hesitated, his voice laced with concern. Junior brother Chu, you really won't stay and join us? He's been good to us, and he's extremely powerful. Having him is better than any other candidate. Chu Xian tilted his hat down slightly, his expression unreadable. Inwardly, though, his thoughts were sharp and unyielding. Fortune and misfortune were intertwined. Lu Shihe's immense strength was a double-edged sword. It would draw the attention of the righteous sections. No need, he said flatly, the words carrying an air of finality. Suddenly, a commanding voice broke the tension. You stop right there! A soldier strode forward, his demeanor cold and authoritative. We are acting under the orders of the Shingang sect elders. The Wu family might be harboring survivors from the Wuji sect, so we are here to investigate. The brunette froze, his voice trembling slightly. 7th level of chi refining. Melon Guy's face paled. Even if the 4 of us join forces, we're no match. Chu Xian's expression darkened as he weighed his options. He could escape easily, but these fellow disciples? They'd be slaughtered. Should he intervene? Before he could decide, a jacked guy emerged from the shadows, his voice dripping with malice. Fellow Taoist, the one wearing the conical hat is the demonic cultivator you're after. Chu Xian. The betrayal hit like a thunderclap. The brunette clenched his teeth. Su Ming you. But the damage was done. Chu Xian slowly removed his hat, his eyes burning with anger and a tinge of regret. I'm still not ruthless enough, he muttered. Su Ming had tricked him again, and now, he had no choice. Tossing his hat aside, his true identity was revealed. Melon Guy's jaw dropped. What? The brunette's voice was a mix of fear and resolve. Senior brother Wei, junior brother Chin, we've been exposed. Retreat quickly, and I will cover you. Don't hesitate, he barked. The main force will likely arrive soon. Go and inform Uncle Lu to relocate. As the two fled, the brunette called back, his voice filled with gratitude. Brother Chu, your righteousness will not be forgotten. A soldier moved to chase them, but his commander held him back. Don't bother chasing. He's the same Chu Xian who escaped from Uncle Sunshire's hands last time. His head is worth far more than those nobodies. The commander turned to face Chu Xian, a mocking smile on his lips. I didn't expect you, a demonic cultivator, to sacrifice yourself for others? Chu Xian's eyes narrowed. Demonic cultivators prioritize profit. They're not difficult to kill. Perhaps keeping them alive could bring me greater benefits in the future. Why wouldn't I take advantage of that? The commander sneered. Ha! With your lowly cultivation level, what future do you have? Drawing his blade, he lunged forward, only to be stopped in his tracks. Blood worms surged from Chu Xian's palm, snaking toward the blade and rendering it useless. The soldiers around him faltered, their confidence waning. This guy, he's stronger than expected. Two soldiers moved to flank him from behind, but Chu Xian's magical tower emerged, its blood-red claws tearing through their defenses with ease. The commander's confidence faltered as he stared at Chu Xian, his voice trembling slightly. What kind of monster are you? Chu Xian smirked coldly. Ridiculous. As a demonic cultivator, how could I not have some trump cards up my sleeve? Now it's your turn. Let's hope your storage pouch won't disappoint me. Meanwhile, at the Wu family's separate residence, chaos was brewing. Lu Jinxiong, the elder of the Wuji sect. What? You left Chu Xian there alone? Even though we are demonic cultivators, the sect has been destroyed. Now we're all in the same boat. His stern gaze bore into the jacked guy who had betrayed Xian. Besides, Chu Xian is one of the top 10 inner disciples and should be a great help. We should be united in this. The jacked guy stammered his excuse. This disciple was also forced by the situation. If not, we all would have been wiped out. Lu Jinxiong wasn't convinced but didn't have time to argue. There's no time to say more. I sensed the aura of a Foundation establishment cultivator approaching, likely coming for me. The tension was palpable as the melon guy stepped forward. We will stay and stand with Uncle Master. But Lu Jinxiong shook his head. No, with your current cultivation level, staying will be useless. You are the hope of the Wuji sect's revival. Your safety is the priority. I will hold them off here. His voice carried the weight of finality. Hear my command, all disciples, disperse and retreat immediately. Regroup at White Mang Mountain. The disciples hesitated, their voices filled with reluctance. Yes. Suddenly, an old man appeared, standing on his flying sword with a look of cold disdain. His chi radiated with deadly intent. Lu Jinxiong, so you were hiding here? He sneered, charging his chi power into his finger. At a time like this, you're still thinking of protecting these demon spawn? Haha. Don't worry, my people have completely locked down Qinghe City. None of them will escape. Panic spread among the Wuji sect disciples as they scattered in every direction. Back at Taiping Square, the brunette, melon guy, and jacked guy stumbled upon a grisly scene. The ground was littered with the corpses of Xunli sect cultivators. The brunette's voice trembled. Those are actually the corpses of those Xunli sect cultivators. Is there anyone in Qinghe City who could have done this? Melon guy's voice wavered with hope. Could it be senior brother Chu? The jacked guy scoffed, his tone dripping with disbelief. Are you joking? Judging by the condition of the bodies, they were clearly killed in an instant. It would take at least a chi refining stage level 8 cultivator to do that. How could it have been him? The brunette pointed toward the distance. Let's not worry about that now. The enemy didn't leave but instead died here. More pursuers will likely be drawn soon. Everyone, make the most of the time we have and evacuate quickly. Near Taiping Mountain, the remnants of the Wuji sect huddled together in the dense forest, their breaths shallow, their gazes darting at every rustle of the leaves. Tension hung heavy in the air until the melon guy's voice broke the silence. Uncle Master Lu is back. His relief was palpable, but that relief turned to horror when they saw Lu Jinxiong stumble into view, his left arm bloodied and limp. Uncle Master! Someone cried out in alarm. Another disciple rushed forward, already calling for a healer, but Lu waved him off, his voice steady despite the pain. I'm fine. It's unavoidable to suffer some injuries during an escape, his face worn but his eyes sharp as ever. But you all! Qinghe City was completely surrounded by Xunli sect forces, yet you managed to escape without losing a single person. It's truly fortunate. The brunette stepped forward, bowing deeply. Thanks to the sect's protection, the disciples managed to leave without obstruction. Even the 3 Xunli sect disciples originally stationed there were killed by someone. The mention of this unexpected event made Lu raise an eyebrow. Something like this happened? Could it be a wandering expert passing by? He sat down on a fallen tree. His tone was contemplative, though his body remained tense as a disciple wrapped bandages around his injured arm. Then, his gaze sharpened. Where is Chu Xian? The brunette hesitated, guilt flickering in his eyes. This disciple doesn't know. In the rush, I didn't spot brother Chu Xian. Su Ming, the jacked guy, crossed his arms with a scoff. Chu Xian is only at the 4th level of chi refining. Facing 3 opponents, he probably got reduced to ashes. His voice was cold, uncaring. But the melon guy wasn't having it. Su Ming, this is all your fault for getting senior brother Chu killed. And you still have the nerve to speak? His fist clenched as he glared at Su Ming, who merely shrugged. Lu Jinxiong rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Chu Xian. I recall him. He's the one who's been ranked 10th in the inner sect for years. His aptitude may be ordinary, but he's very clever. He might not have met with misfortune. His sharp gaze turned to Wei Hua, the brunette. Wei Hua, once things calm down, take some people to gather information on him. If you find him, bring him to join us. It's good to have some support. Since the sect's destruction, he's been wandering alone. I can't imagine how difficult things must be for him now. Meanwhile, Chu Xian wasn't exactly struggling. In a dimly lit cavern, he sat cross-legged, grinning from ear to ear as he counted his spoils. Ha ha ha, life is really getting better and better. He chuckled, his voice echoing in the cavern. 800 low-grade spirit stones, 2 mid-grade spirit stones. Spirit gathering formation and maze formation, suitable for setting up a cave dwelling. His fingers traced the edge of a small black flag, his smile turning wicked. Surprisingly, there's even a 10,000 souls banner. This is a notorious evil sect treasure. It's extremely harmful to one's karma. This mid-grade 10,000 souls banner must have required the slaughter of countless beings and the extraction of their souls to be refined. A righteous cultivator from the Shunli sect, actually greedy for its power, secretly kept it and refined it in the dark. His gaze darkened as he held the banner up to the dim light. However, it's perfect for me to take to the zombie planet, where there are plenty of zombies for me to extract souls from. Once the 10,000 souls banner is fully refined, tens of millions of ferocious ghosts will rise like a tide, becoming a powerful trump card. With a satisfied sigh, he stood up, stretching his arms. The items I need are all gathered. The blood mirror has been fully charged too. It's time to head back. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned the magical mirror, a portal of swirling purple energy opening before him. Zombie planet, here I come! On the other side, however, he was greeted with a scene that made his jaw clench. Smoke billowed from what remained of his base. The barrels of supplies he'd so painstakingly gathered reduced to ash. He crouched by the smoldering remains, his voice low and seething. Let me calculate the time. I should have left here about 2 months ago. But things shouldn't have turned out this way. His eyes narrowed as he inspected the damage. Corpses wouldn't do something like this. Someone deliberately set the fire. If I had known, I would have refined a few more corpses to guard the place. His fist tightened, his teeth grinding in frustration. My snack reserves, all burned to ashes. Whoever did this didn't even come here to loot supplies. They just set a fire for no damn reason? Summoning his magic tower, he called out. Xiaohu, report to me. Come here. Elsewhere, a couple knelt on the ground before Toji, their faces pale with terror. Don't kill us. We really haven't seen anyone going in or out of the mall. The boyfriend pleaded, his voice shaking. Toji's sneer was almost predatory as he stepped closer to the girl, licking his lips. Oh no, perhaps there's still some use for you after all. The girlfriend's eyes widened in horror. No, please, she begged, her voice cracking. Before Toji could lay a hand on her, a massive shadow loomed over him. He turned slowly, his confidence evaporating as he stared up at Xiaohu, who towered over him like death itself. The couple didn't waste a second, scrambling to their feet and running as fast as they could. It's a high-level zombie, the boyfriend shouted in panic, his voice fading into the distance. Xiaohu leaned down toward Toji, mimicking the predator's earlier movements, and karma hit like a truck. Toji's legs shook as he stammered. No, don't. But then his eyes focused on the zombie's face, recognition dawning too late. Wait, this zombie. Tang Hu. His words were cut off as Xiaohu grabbed him by the collar like a rag doll, slung him over his shoulder, and dashed away, leaving a trail of smoke in his wake. Toji's scream was more pathetic than anything. Ow! Where are you taking me? Where are you going? Xiaohu didn't answer, of course, but when they arrived at Chu Xian's hideout, Toji was unceremoniously slammed to the ground, his head pinned under Xiaohu's massive hand. Chu Xian turned, his eyes lighting up with amusement. How you're back so soon, Xiaohu? He patted his undead companion affectionately, as if he were a loyal dog. Toji, trembling on the ground, stammered, Who are you? And why can you control Brother Hu? Chu Xian tilted his head, unimpressed. So what if I can? You know Xiaohu? Could it be that you're also part of the same gang? Was it your people who burned down this place too? Toji, shaking but still have the balls to say, Yes, so what about it? Chu Xian's expression darkened, his tone turning icy. I haven't caused any trouble here yet, but instead, others have already troubled me. His eyes glowed crimson as his aura intensified. If I want to cultivate in peace in this world, I'll have to deal with these annoying little dogs first. He leaned in, his voice dripping with malice. I just wonder how much corpse refining material they can provide me. Toji's voice cracked as he asked, Corpse refining? What does that mean? Chu Xian smirked. How about you first tell me all the intel you have on the gang? Chu Xian's spirit-capturing eyes glowed with an eerie intensity as he locked his gaze onto Toji, the man's pupils dilating like a puppet under command. Toji's voice trembled, spilling the truth as if his very soul had been wrenched open. My name is Wang Bao, he confessed, his words robotic and devoid of resistance. a trusted subordinate of Xiao Hong, the Spirit Dog Gang's boss. Our base is in the Grand Hotel. The mall was burned down when we came to look for Brother Hu. Meeting the horrifying scene, the boss ordered us to fire and destroy everything. Chu Xian's cold stare didn't waver. His tone was sharp, slicing through the air like a blade. How strong is Xiao Hong? Toji's head tilted slightly, his subdued voice revealing the extent of their boss's power. He's a 5-level transcendent who has tamed 3 spirit dogs. Each one of them is more than 3 meters long and incredibly violent. He's also physically stronger than an ordinary person. He can compete with high-level zombies. But something in Toji's voice shifted. He was regaining fragments of his consciousness. A flicker of fear crossed his face as he stammered. Chu Xian's thoughts raced. The spirit capturing I was losing its grip. Time was running out. He pressed on. Wang Bao, let me ask you one last question. This isn't your first time murdering and burning things down, is it? Toji's lips curled into a nervous grin, his voice dripping with sarcasm as he chuckled uneasily. Of course not. Such things are common right now. I even enjoy it a little bit. Ha 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 ha. His laughter was hollow, but the moment was short-lived. Chu Xian's expression darkened, his voice icy as he delivered a final, chilling verdict. In this case, there is no need to refuse your excellent corpse refining material. Panic surged through Toji as the realization hit him like a brick wall. His scream pierced the air. What did I do just now? But there was no mercy to be found. Xiaohu, the towering zombie, grabbed Toji like a ragdoll, lifting him effortlessly. The cauldron bubbled ominously, steam rising as if it were eager to claim its next victim. Chu Xian stood calmly, his eyes gleaming with a sinister satisfaction as he threw the final ingredients into the boiling concoction. Toji thrashed violently, his screams echoing through the space. What are you doing? But his cries were cut short as Xiaohu smashed him into the seething liquid, submerging him completely. Chu Xian watched the process unfold, his thoughts cold and calculating. Transcendence, spirit dogs, high-level zombies. This zombie planet is more interesting than I thought. Although a chi refining cultivator is a powerful being on this planet, I still can't take them lightly. He stepped outside, the wasteland stretching out before him in its apocalyptic glory. His mind raced with plans. I need to gather information and continue collecting zombie materials. After all, my energy is limited as just one person. He clasped his hands behind his back, an air of authority surrounding him, his posture reminiscent of a ruler surveying his kingdom. Although the Ian corpses are strong, they lack intelligence. If I could use a team of normally functioning servants, the results would be much better. Keeping the spirit dog gang alive might be more useful than killing them. Hours passed, and from the cauldron emerged a figure unrecognizable from the trembling man he had been. Toji was no more. What stood in his place was a hulking blue zombie, spikes jutting from his back and elbows, his icy blue eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Energy crackled around him, radiating like a storm. His core pulsed with power, a lightning-like arc reactor embedded in his chest. Chu Xian's magical tower scanned and analyzed the creation. Middle grade Ian corpse. Level 3 corpse soldier. Innate spells, silent walk, fire thorn. A twisted smile crept across Chu Xian's face. Not bad. A middle grade with 2 innate spells. He's a good pick for an assassin. You're Xiao Bao from now on. You and Xiaohu are a perfect team. But the harmony didn't last long. Xiaohu, the jealous brute, didn't take kindly to the competition. He shoved Xiao Bao aside with a menacing glare, trying to monopolize Chu Xian's attention. Xiao Bao, now despite his terrifying form, cowered behind Chu Xian like a scolded puppy, his glowing eyes wide with fear. Chu Xian sighed, rubbing his temples in disbelief. So, 2 big strong zombies competing for my favor. His tone shifted, dripping with dark amusement as his expression turned villainous. Well, it's time to find someone to settle a score with. Come on, cheer up. It's time to go play. At that, both zombies snapped to attention, their rivalry forgotten. Xiao Bao's icy blue aura crackled, while Xiaohu's blood-red energy flared. They roared in unison, ready for action. The scene shifted to the Grand Hotel, its entrance a chaotic mess, with debris scattered everywhere. Inside, the spirit dog gang lounged carelessly, their guard down. A man with braids slapped a card on the table. 3! He barked, his voice triumphant. Across from him, a man with a mohawk laughed as he played his hand. 4-2! Haha, you'll lose! The room reeked of alcohol and stale smoke, their laughter echoing through the space, until the garage door exploded. Smoke billowed into the room, and chaos erupted as they scrambled to their feet. Who is it? One of them yelled, panic setting in. Who's that guy? And what's with that outfit? A cosplay? Through the haze, Chu Xian emerged, his voice calm but commanding. I am the Spirit Dog Gang's new boss. His words hung in the air for a moment before one of the gang, a man in a durag, burst into laughter, tossing his drink at Chu Xian. So funny! Where did that fool come from? But before the liquid could touch him, Xiaohu intervened, smashing the bottle into shards with a single swipe. The gang froze, their confidence evaporating as the realization hit. A high-level zombie! One of them stammered. Chu Xian's expression hardened as he surveyed the pathetic group. These idiots are a waste of resources if they are left alive. His gaze shifted to Xiao Bao. Take care of him. Without hesitation, Xiao Bao leaped into action, his movements swift and lethal. He tore into the man with the durag, ripping his arms apart with a sickening crunch. The gang recoiled in terror as Chu Xian's voice cut through their screams. If you don't want to end up like this, tell Zhao Han to come out quickly. The tension was palpable as one of the gang members stammered. Don't kill us. I'll call the boss right away. Moments later, the heavy thud of boots echoed as a group approached, armed and ready for battle. At the center of the group stood Zhao Hong, flanked by 3 spirit dogs, 2 gray beasts and a massive golden one. Zhao Hong's voice was calm but laced with menace. You're looking for me? Chu Xian's eyes narrowed as he studied Zhao Hong, his mind analyzing every detail. Is that a transcendent? There is indeed energy fluctuating in his body. Although it's weaker than spiritual energy, it's still different from ordinary people. If he's refined into a Yin corpse, he'll definitely be extremely powerful. The stage was set, and the battle was about to begin. Zhao Hong's voice rang out, sharp and brave. Who are you, and what do you want from me? His eyes darted around nervously, the tension thick enough to choke on. Across from him stood Chu Xian, calm, composed, and exuding a quiet confidence that was far more terrifying than rage. His smirk was sharp, the kind that made your stomach twist. The mall is my territory, he said, voice smooth as silk but laced with venom. You burned it down, so of course, I'm here to settle the score. Zhao Hong's stomach churned as his mind raced. Did he put those corpses in the mall? Such a cruel practice. Is he also a transcendent? No, he's something far worse. And he can control zombies? What kind of monster is this? His palms were sweaty, his thoughts spiraling, but he forced himself to speak, his voice wavering. It's just a misunderstanding. I can have people prepare another shopping mall for you. But Chu Xian didn't even flinch. He tilted his head slightly, his smirk growing wider, almost mocking. I heard most of Dongwu City belongs to your gang, so one shopping mall won't be enough. The casual way he said it made Zhao Hong's blood run cold. So what else do you want? Zhao Hong snapped, his voice rising, trying to claw back some semblance of control. I advise you to be wise and back off while you still can. We, the Spirit Dog Gang, won't accommodate you forever. And yet, Chu Xian remained unfazed, his calm demeanor only fueling Zhao Hong's panic. I want your entire gang, Chu Xian said simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. That was the last straw. Zhao Hong's face twisted in fury, his pride flaring up like a cornered animal. You're not accepting the toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, he shouted, his voice trembling with rage. Turning to his wolves, his loyal beasts flanking him, he barked. Da Huang! Hey! Xiao Bai! Go! Eat him alive! The wolves didn't hesitate, their growls rumbling like thunder as they charged at Chu Xian, but Chu Xian didn't move. He simply stood there, watching, as a golden light suddenly flared to life around him, shimmering like an impenetrable shield. The first wolf lunged, its powerful jaws clamping down on the light, only for its fangs to shatter like glass. The beast yelped in pain, thrown backward by the force of the shield. Zhao Hong's eyes widened in disbelief. What the hell is that? He stammered. The golden light wasn't just luck, it was a skill. Xiao Hu, one of Chu Xian's loyal zombie servants, had activated Golden Light Incarnation, a skill that made Chu Xian untouchable. Before Zhao Hong could fully process what had happened, another figure appeared behind him, silent as a shadow. It was Xiao Bao, another of Chu Xian's zombies, moving with the precision of an assassin. His eyes burned with a cold, deadly light as he unleashed his ability, Yin Fire Thorn. The attack was aimed straight at Zhao Hong's back, but one of the wolves, loyal to the bitter end, leapt in the way, taking the brunt of the blow. The golden wolf collapsed, its fur scorched and smoking, and Zhao Hong staggered back, his mind spiraling into chaos. Thoughts were a frantic mess. It's Wang Bao, and the missing Tang Hu. What's going on here? He killed my spirit dog in one move. That's not something a normal high-level zombie can do. Hey! Xiao Bai! Protect me! Zhao Hong screamed, his voice cracking with desperation. But even his remaining wolves hesitated, their instincts screaming at them to back down from the overwhelming power radiating from Chu Xian and his undead servants. Chu Xian's voice sliced through the chaos, calm yet dripping with menace. Do you still want to use your dogs to block the blows for you? Even animals know to bow down to me. Do you want to become their next scapegoat, or will you be my subordinate? His words hit like a hammer, the weight of his dominance undeniable. But Zhao Hong wasn't ready to give up just yet. His pride reared its head one last time, and with shaking hands, he pulled out a pistol. Don't celebrate too early. No one can take my spirit dogs or my gang from me, he shouted, his voice trembling with rage and fear. He raised the weapon, aiming directly at Chu Xian. Die! The gunshots echoed through the air. Bam! 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 But the bullets never reached their target. From Chu Xian's body, steel blood worms erupted, coiling through the air like living shields. The bullets ricocheted harmlessly off them, the projectiles flying back into Zhao Hong's own men. Screams filled the air as his subordinates fell, their lifeless bodies hitting the ground with sickening thuds. Zhao Hong's hand went limp, the gun slipping from his grasp as he stared in horror. Chu Xian tilted his head, his smirk returning. Is this your last resort? I was hoping for something more impressive. Zhao Hong's legs gave out, and he dropped to his knees, his voice breaking as he begged. The spirit dog gang is yours. Please spare me. Chu Xian's smirk didn't falter. He stepped closer, his eyes cold and calculating. This spirit dog gang is useful to me, so I'll take it from your hands. And I'm also going to use your body. Zhao Hong's face turned a deep shade of red, and for a moment, his fear was replaced with sheer confusion. Although I don't like men, if you're adamant I can, he stammered, his words trailing off awkwardly. Chu Xian's expression twisted in disgust. Don't get me wrong, I'm not into men either. He turned to Xiao Bao, dismissing Zhao Hong entirely. Tie him up. Then, to Xiao Hu he added, I'll leave these 2 dogs to you. The remaining gang members, trembling with fear, fell to their knees, bowing their heads in submission. Master! They cried, their voices trembling with sincerity. Chu Xian smirked again. Right. You should read the rune properly. 10 years ago, the Sea Star spirit exploded, unleashing a wave of energy that reshaped the world. Most people couldn't withstand it. Their bodies twisted and mutated, turning them into bloodthirsty monsters known as zombies. Among the survivors, a rare few gained extraordinary talents, their strength divided into 9 stages based on the number of cores in their bodies. Back in the present, Zhao Hong, now tied up and defeated, explained through gritted teeth. Donghu City, where we are now, is a small city in the Linjiang province. It belongs to the Flame Nation's centralized monarchy. There are only 2 powers here. One is the Spirit Dog Gang, and the other is the Black Security Company. Chu Xian listened carefully, his expression unreadable. That's all I know, Zhao Hong added, desperation creeping into his voice. Is there anything else you want to know? Whatever it is, I'll find it. Chu Xian waved a hand dismissively. Xiao Bao, take him to the medicinal bath. Zhao Hong's eyes widened. Medicinal bath? His protests turned into panic screams as Xiao Hu and Xiao Bao dragged him away. Big brother, didn't you say you'd spare me? Chu Xian sipped his drink, watching the chaos unfold with amusement. The medicinal bath this time is the best one I've been able to get. After soaking for a few days, his talent will come into play. He leaned back, savoring the moment. Then it's the perfect chance to set up the blood battle array for a blood sacrifice. Modern food and drinks really are better. Outside, Chu Xian soared through the air on his flying sword, drink in hand, surveying the desolate city below. His sharp eyes caught movement on a rooftop. A group of survivors was fighting for their lives. 2 men strained to hold the door against the relentless pounding of zombies, while an old man stood behind them, trembling, clutching a white case to his chest. This stage 3 core was obtained at the cost of many lives, the old man whispered, his voice heavy with resignation. We can't lose it. Just take it and leave me. The man in sunglasses shook his head, his voice firm. Mr. Jing, you're the Linjiang Province Institute of Sciences chief. Your life is more important than ours. Don't worry. I've sent a rescue signal. The Black Security Company will send someone to pick us up. The old man sighed, his shoulders sagging. Alas, the world has changed. If you want to be rescued, it will be hard. The door behind them splintered and burst open. A wave of zombies poured through, their growls deafening. The 3 survivors froze, their faces pale with despair. We're doomed. Out of nowhere, a sword shot through the air like a damn missile, slicing clean through the zombie lunging at the guy in green. But that wasn't all. This wasn't some one-and-done move, it was a massacre. The blade zipped through the horde, carving through every rotting corpse with terrifying speed and precision until the scene was eerily silent, not a single zombie left standing. Before anyone could process what just happened, a figure floated down from the sky like some ancient deity, his tone calm but commanding. It's quite lively here, said Chu Xian, as he landed gracefully in front of the stunned group. The survivors, still reeling from the chaos, scrambled to thank him, their voices trembling with gratitude. Thank you? Thank you so much for saving us, great one. But Chu Xian wasn't here for praise. His sharp gaze locked onto the white case the old man was clutching like his life depended on it. What's inside? Could it be that these zombies were after this? He asked, his voice laced with curiosity and authority. The old man froze, stammering as if he'd just been caught hiding a state secret. The two men flanking him immediately raised their guard, their expressions hardening. It's a level 3 psionic core, the old man finally sputtered. Originating from a level 3 zombie bear. That caught Chu Xian's attention. His eyes narrowed as he stepped closer. Oh? Let me see. Without waiting for permission, he released a steel blood worm, his personal nightmare fuel, and it slithered out to snatch the case right out of the old man's hands. The group tensed but knew better than to resist. Please don't take it away, the old man begged, his voice breaking with desperation. The Life Sciences Research Institute depends on it. With this, we have hope of researching a weapon to counter the zombies, which concerns the entire. Chu Xian cut him off with a glance, opening the case to reveal a glowing green orb. He examined it with a critical eye, unimpressed. So this is the energy core. It's not that impressive, he thought, his inner monologue dripping with disdain. The energy inside is nothing compared to the spiritual energy within a small spirit stone. Without a second thought, he tossed the core back to the old man, who fumbled to catch it, his face a mix of shock and confusion. Don't worry, Chu Xian said flatly. I'm not interested in things at this level. The old man could barely process what he just heard. A level 3 psionic core, insignificant? Who the hell was this guy? Before he could voice his disbelief, Chu Xian turned his attention back to the group. You all, where have you come from? He asked, his tone sharp. One of the men, sporting shades that screamed, badass wannabe, stepped forward. We're from Linjiang Province, Linjiang Army. We're under orders to protect Professor Jing and bring back the psionic core. Chu Xian raised a brow. Just the two of you? He asked, skepticism dripping from his voice. The guy with the shades scoffed. Of course not. The Black Blade Security Company will escort us out temporarily. The jacked guy in green, clearly less impressed with this plan, muttered. If I may ask, what will the Linjiang Army be of use when coming here? But before the conversation could spiral, Chu Xian's voice cut through, cold and dismissive. The Linjiang Army? He repeated, almost as if the name itself was beneath him. As they spoke, Chu Xian's thoughts wandered. Even the strongest cannot compare to the Wuji sect of the past. In these chaotic times, you never know when everything might fall apart. There's no need to intentionally make friends. But then, an idea struck him. Help me with one thing, he said, his tone shifting slightly, and I'll ensure your safe departure. The old man's eyes lit up with hope. Really? We'll do anything you need. But then, as if remembering his position, he adjusted his glasses nervously. However, we cannot do anything against regulations. That's our bottom line. Chu Xian smirked, already walking away. You don't need to do much. Just stay on the rooftop. Attracting the zombies will be enough. Before they could protest, he removed the seal from the door, unleashing a horde of zombies below. The old man looked like he was about to have a heart attack, but Chu Xian waved off his panic. No need to worry, he said casually. I've already reinforced the door with a stone talisman. These zombies won't be able to break through. You can rest here for now. And with that, he stepped onto his flying sword and disappeared into the sky in a flash. Hovering above the chaos, Chu Xian pulled out his trump card, the 10,000 souls banner. Go! He commanded, activating it with a wave of his hand. Crimson arrays lit up the ground below, forming a massive, birdcage-shaped barrier. The banner planted itself at the center of the attack, radiating raw power. Looking down at the horde of zombies crowding the mall like Black Friday shoppers, Chu Xian smirked. With the psionic core attracting the zombies, you've saved me a lot of trouble, he muttered, satisfied. Returning to the rooftop, he addressed the trio. Everything is ready. Time to take you out of here. I'll make sure of one thing first. Do you want to come with me? The old man didn't hesitate. We'll go with you. The jacked guy in green, still cautious, muttered. Mister. But the old man reassured him. No worries. If this great one wanted to harm us, even 10 lives wouldn't be enough. He wouldn't need to use any tricks. And just like that, Chu Xian wrapped them in his steel blood worm like some creepy, sentient roller coaster and took off on his flying sword. The trio screamed bloody murder the entire time, their terror echoing through the skies. By the time they landed, they were utterly drained, not from running, but from sheer emotional exhaustion. Chu Xian, unfazed, gestured for them to leave. All right, you can go seek your rescue on your own now. I won't be accompanying you. The old man tried to stop him, bowing deeply. Thank you, Great One, for your immense kindness. May I ask your name, Great One? Chu Xian, ever the dramatic, turned slightly, striking a pose fit for a painting. Chu Xian, he said simply before flying off into the distance. As the trio watched him disappear, the old man muttered, "This is definitely beyond the capabilities of a regular transcendent's innate talent. Hurry back. We must report this to General Yi immediately." Meanwhile, Chu Xian hovered over the center of his spell range, a sly grin on his face. With a flick of his finger, he commanded, "Blood transformation array, go!" Red beams of light shot out like lasers, draining the blood of every zombie within the range of his spell. The blood coalesced into spheres, which floated up to Chu Xian like offerings to a god. Ha! The blood transformation array lives up to its reputation. He laughed, exhilarated. These blood orbs, they're enough for me to cultivate to the 9th level of chi refining. But then, something unexpected happened. A golden glow appeared above him, and golden flowers began falling from the sky. Chu Xian froze, his eyes widening in shock. Ha! Golden flowers of merit? Golden flowers falling from the sky. Isn't this a rare phenomenon only triggered by someone with immense merit? Could it be because I exterminated those zombies? He paused, his mind racing. Throughout history, demonic cultivators have always been burdened by the karma of their killings. If they didn't bring down heavenly lightning and fire, they were already lucky. But to trigger the phenomenon of golden flowers of merit, he smirked, a dangerous glint in his eyes. No wonder those righteous cultivators keep clamoring about eradicating evil demons. They must be envious of the benefits of merit. If I were to offer a blood sacrifice of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even billions of zombies in the future, I'd be laden with infinite merit. My lifespan, comprehension, and fortune would all increase exponentially. The path to sainthood in the body is within reach. At the Black Security Company headquarters, the atmosphere was tense, but not for everyone. A man in a police uniform stood rigid, his expression etched with frustration as he reported to his boss, Wang Gangjian. For some context, Wang wasn't your typical boss. Sure, he ran the Black Security Company, but at the moment, he was slouched in a chair, furiously playing a video game like a kid avoiding homework. The world outside was in shambles, a zombie apocalypse tearing society apart, but this guy looked more concerned about his kill streak than the literal end of days. The officer, attempting to remain professional despite his growing irritation, pressed on with his report. "I've already sent Mr. Jing and the others to investigate," he began. "But no matter how much we ask, we still can't figure out why there are so many bloodless mummies in that area. Mr. Jing keeps dodging the question. He's hiding something, I'm sure of it." Wang, who looked like he was in his 40s but had the energy of a teenager cracking Mountain Dew cans at 3 a.m., didn't even glance away from the screen. "It's near the Spirit Dog Gang's headquarters," he said casually, still mashing buttons on his Nintendo. "Go ask Xiao Hong about it." The officer blinked, incredulous. "Me? Xiao Hong's a transcendent. He wouldn't even give me the time of day." Finally, Wang paused his game, rolling his eyes as if the apocalypse was an inconvenience to his gaming session. "Ha! The Black Security Company is backed by the Linjiang Army. What's a stray dog like Xiao Hong gonna do? Bark at us? With the army reinforcements on the way, Donghu will be ours anyway. Who cares what he thinks?" His confidence was palpable, even if his priorities were completely out of whack. Meanwhile, across the city, the Spirit Dog Gang's hideout was undergoing a transformation. The gang, now under Chu Xian's control, was a picture of loyalty, or so they thought. The scene was unexpectedly wholesome. A hot pot feast was in full swing, with steaming dishes of meat and vegetables laid out like a family dinner. A man with a mohawk haircut beamed as he announced, "Boss, dinner's ready!" Chu Xian, the new leader, picked up his chopsticks and surveyed the spread with calm satisfaction. But beneath his composed exterior, his thoughts were as cold and calculated as ever. "These people still have their uses," he mused silently. "Ean corpses lack the precision for tasks like this. As long as they remain useful, I'll keep them alive. There's no need to kill unnecessarily when there's merit in keeping them around." With a disarming smile, he addressed his men. "Well done. Sit down and eat." The gang members, visibly moved, teared up at his kindness. "The new boss is so approachable," one of them sniffled. "He's nothing like that murderous Xiao Hong. 10,000 times better." For a moment, the scene looked almost idyllic, like a group of misfits bonding over a shared meal. But the reality was far darker. One of the meatballs rolled off the table, cracking open as it hit the ground to reveal a writhing green worm. Unbeknownst to the gang, the hot pot wasn't just food, it was a trap. Chu Xian's demonic arts had infused the meal with parasites designed to control their minds and bodies. As he watched his men eat, oblivious to the worms now inside them, his smile turned sinister. The living may not be as loyal as the dead, he thought. But once they've ingested my poison, there's no escape from my control. Later that night, after the family dinner was over, Chu Xian retreated to his secret chamber. Standing before a massive cauldron of boiling red liquid, he smirked with anticipation. After soaking for so long, he muttered, "You'd better not disappoint me." With a flick of his finger, he commanded, "Come out." The surface of the liquid rippled violently before a hulking zombie emerged, its grotesque form dripping with power. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill undead. Its head was crowned with thorn-like spikes, its body encased in armor that looked both organic and impenetrable. One arm was a jagged claw fused with bone, while the other was a spike stinger that pulsed with venomous energy. Chu Xian's eyes lit up with pride. "This corpse's arm, an innate magic weapon!" he exclaimed. But his joy was short-lived. The zombie, instead of bowing in submission, let out a guttural roar and lunged at its creator, brimming with aggression. Chu Xian's expression darkened. "Oh? A traitor?" His voice was icy, each word laced with menace, his aura exploding with oppressive energy. His crimson eyes glowed as he sneered. "Not knowing how high the sky is or how deep the ground goes, you dare defy me?" The zombie faltered under his overwhelming presence, its ferocity replaced by trembling fear. Slowly, it dropped to its knees, bowing its head in submission. Chu Xian smirked, victorious. "That's better," he muttered, patting the zombie's head like a loyal pet. Using his magical tower, he analyzed his creation. High grade, level 7 corpse soldier. Innate spells, golden light, divine blade spell, corpse roar art, the tower reported. Chu Xian's pride swelled. "You didn't disappoint me after all," he said. "Your new name is Xiaolong." Calling over two other zombies, Xiao Hu and Xiao Bao, he issued his orders. "Take Xiaolong with you. Teach him the rules, what he can and can't do. Make sure he knows his place." The two roared in agreement, leading their new ally away. Elsewhere, near the Grand Hotel, a soldier from the Black Security Company stood atop a tank, surveying the eerie stillness with binoculars. The silence was unnerving. "Something's wrong," he muttered. "Why is it so quiet? The spirit dog gang's never been like this." His unease turned to panic when he spotted them, Chu Xian's elite zombie trio. "High-level zombies," he gasped. "And there are 3 of them. Even Zhao Hong's men are obeying them? Could Zhao Hong be dead?" His thoughts spiraled as he realized the implications. Has the spirit dog gang been wiped out already? His panic turned to sheer terror when Xiaolong's eyes locked onto him. The zombie's killing intent was suffocating. "Damn it," he stammered. "It saw me. I'm dead." But before Xiaolong could pounce, Xiao Hu stepped in, recalling Chu Xian's orders. In his mind, he replayed the master's command. "You're my men. The murders you commit will count as my own and affect my reputation. Don't kill anyone without my permission." Xiaolong reluctantly backed off, his chance for a first kill slipping away. The soldier, seizing the opportunity, scrambled into his tank and sped off, heart pounding. Once he was a safe distance away, he glanced back in disbelief. "It stopped chasing me?" he murmured, still shaken. Back at his lair, Chu Xian was in deep meditation, surrounded by glowing orbs of energy. As he absorbed their power, the orbs shattered, releasing waves of chi energy into his body. His eyes glowed red as he clenched his fists, exhilarated. "Chi refinement, 7th stage," he declared. "With my current power, I'm invincible below the foundation building stage." His mind raced with plans. To reach the foundation building stage, I need to compress my spiritual energy into liquid form. But the ingredients for the original foundation building pill are tightly controlled by the righteous sections. Demonic cultivators like me have to find another way. His solution? The soul flower, a rare and powerful ingredient cultivated through slaughtered souls. The last time I returned to the Sichuan continent, I prepared the seeds. This zombie-infested planet has no shortage of souls ripe for harvesting. Once I reach the 9th stage of chi refinement, I'll find the perfect place to grow the soul flower. As Chu Xian's ambitions grew, the city outside descended further into chaos. Wolves roamed the ruins, their howls echoing under the pale moonlight. Amid the destruction, a soldier fell prey to the pack. His arm and eyes are missing and the wolves' leader is standing tall and majestic under the shimmering glow of the full moon. The apocalypse wasn't just unfolding, it was thriving. The sunlight spilled over the broken city, illuminating the ruins that had once been filled with chaos and carnage. Now, there was a strange serenity. No zombies, no screams, just silence, like the calm before a storm. Inside what looked like a makeshift throne room, Chu Xian sat back in his chair, legs crossed, looking every bit like a boss who had conquered the apocalypse. His zombie subordinates knelt before him, their grotesque forms hunched in submission. He leaned forward slightly, his voice cutting through the quiet. "Are you saying you found a den of giant wolves on the highway? And they're planning to attack us?" Xiao Hu, one of his zombie soldiers, let out a guttural roar, confirming the report. Chu Xian leaned back, his mind already calculating the next move. Xiao Hu and Xiao Bao had already leveled up to corpse soldiers, and Xiao Long had reached level 9. These wolves had the audacity to ambush them. Chu Xian's lips curled into a smirk. "Confident little bastards," he thought. But this wasn't just an annoyance, it was an opportunity. His thoughts sharpened. Perhaps this den could be the perfect breeding ground for spirit flowers. Without wasting time, he waved his hand, sucking his zombie trio into his magical tower to rest. His gaze shifted toward the city outside, a flicker of excitement in his eyes. Kicking his leg up onto the table with casual arrogance, he announced, "I just broke through the 9th stage of chi refinement. Looks like it's time to stretch my legs." Moments later, Chu Xian stood on his flying sword, the wind whipping through his hair as he surveyed the city below. The magical tower rested in his palm, its faint glow pulsing with the energy of his undead soldiers inside. His voice was calm but commanding. "Is it here?" he asked, the question hanging in the air. From within the tower, Xiao Hu's roar confirmed the location. Chu Xian descended gracefully and landed near a pair of smashed tanks. His sharp eyes fell on a lifeless body sprawled on the ground. "A Linjiang army guard," he muttered. "So even a level 1 transcendent couldn't survive this." His tone grew colder. "These wolves aren't as simple as I thought." Suddenly, a baby's cry pierced the stillness. The sound was raw and desperate, echoing across the ruins. Chu Xian froze, his eyes narrowing. That cry didn't sit right with him. His instinct screamed that something was off. Without hesitation, he conjured a green fireball, the glowing energy crackling in his palm before he hurled it toward the sound. The explosion lit up the area, a wave of destruction rippling outward. When the dust settled, a severed wolf leg landed near his feet. He stared at it, his expression unreadable, before speaking in a voice so cold it could freeze the air. "If a Linjiang army guard, a transcendent no less, died here, how could a baby survive? Crying so damn loud too?" His gaze darkened. "Someone else might have rushed in to save a life. But unfortunately," he smirked, his voice dropping to a cruel whisper, "you ran into me, a cold-blooded demon cultivator." As if on cue, a deep, guttural howling erupted around him. The ground trembled as the wolves emerged, their glowing crimson eyes locked on Chu Xian with unrelenting hatred, their snarls filling the air as they prepared to attack. But Chu Xian stood unfazed, his expression almost bored. With a casual flick of his hand, he summoned his zombie trio from the magical tower. The undead soldiers materialized, their grotesque forms radiating malice as they roared in unison. The wolves hesitated for a moment, their bloodlust clashing with the overwhelming aura of the zombies. Then, the pack parted, making way for their leader. A massive wolf stepped forward, its blue fur shimmering like frost under the sunlight. A black horn jutted from its head, and its claws scraped against the ground, sharp enough to carve through steel. Chu Xian's eyes narrowed as he studied the creature. "A level 2 transcendent wolf king," he muttered, almost impressed. "Not bad." The wolf king let out an air-splitting howl, the signal for its pack to attack. The wolves surged forward like a tidal wave of fur and fangs, their howls tearing through the air. Chu Xian's voice cut through the noise, calm and commanding. "Leave the transcendent to me," he told his zombies. "The rest are yours." The trio roared in response, charging into the fray without hesitation. The battlefield erupted into chaos. Blood sprayed as claws met bone, teeth tore into flesh, and the undead soldiers fought with a ferocity that matched the wolves' savage attacks. The ground was littered with bodies as the two sides clashed, either willing to back down. Meanwhile, Chu Xian faced the Wolf King head-on. The massive creature lunged at him with its powerful jaws, but Chu Xian sidestepped effortlessly, his movements fluid and precise. "Good teeth, strong bones," he muttered with a smirk. "You pass." The Wolf King snarled, its crimson eyes blazing with fury as it launched another attack. But Chu Xian was already one step ahead. Channeling his chi energy, he unleashed a bloodworm spell, the crimson energy coiling like a whip around the beast's jaw. With a flick of his wrist, he slammed the Wolf King into the ground, the impact sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Dust and debris flew everywhere as the creature groaned, momentarily stunned. Chu Xian walked toward it, his expression cold and calculating. "It survived my attack," he noted, tilting his head slightly. "Its physique is impressive. Pass." He glanced back at his zombie trio, their grotesque forms tearing through the remaining wolves with ease. The pack was no match for the undead soldiers, and soon the battlefield was silent again, save for the groans of the injured Wolf King. Chu Xian turned to his soldiers and spoke with quiet authority. "Carry them all back to the hotel. he ordered, his voice cutting through the aftermath like a blade. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, a tank screeched to a halt at the site of the earlier battle. 3 men stepped out, their faces grim. 2 wore black security uniforms, while the third, a man in a sleek black suit, knelt beside the wreckage. His sharp eyes scanned the area, taking in the scene. "How is this possible?" he muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. "The vehicle, the supplies, the body of our Linjiang army brother, all gone." Raising his hand, he summoned a green glow of energy. "My talent is with spirit," he explained, "which allows me to communicate with plants and gather information." Placing his glowing palm against a nearby tree, he closed his eyes and let the visions flood his mind. He saw the battle as if through the tree's eyes, zombies dragging away wolf carcasses, a man driving a truck full of supplies. His eyes snapped open as he stumbled back, the glow fading from his hand. "There was a fight here," he said, his voice shaking. "1 human, 3 zombies, and a pack of wolves. The human escaped, and the wolves suffered heavy losses. The Wolf King, it was a level 2 transcendent. Who could walk away from this unscathed?" One of his subordinates, a man in a cap, spoke up. "We've been in Donghu City for a while now," he said grimly. "There are no level 3 transcendent here, and it's impossible for someone to gather enough resources to reach level 4 on their own." He placed a hand on the suited man's shoulder and added, "The waters here are deep and full of mysteries. First, high-level zombies appear, and now this, another strong individual we don't even know if we can trust." The man in suit thinks that the person in the tree vision is similar to Chu Xian's, so the guy in suit is actually the guy with sunglasses who got his ass saved along with his 2 companions by our protagonist a while back then on the rooftop. Back at Chu Xian's base, the once ruined mall was now a thriving farm. Crops flourished under the glow of spirit energy, the air thick with the promise of life. In the center of it all, Chu Xian stood within a glowing magical circle, golden light swirling around him. "The fog array and spirit gathering array are complete," he declared. "Now, this place is a holy land. You can farm and raise livestock in peace." His men cheered, their arms full of fresh crops and vegetables. "The boss is amazing," one of them shouted. "Since the zombie outbreak, we never thought we'd see a day like this." Chu Xian turned away, his mind already on his next move. "This land will be managed by the Spirit Dog Gang to improve food quality," he thought. "But as for the demon spirit plant I want to grow." He entered a dark, ominous room where the injured Wolf King was bound. The creature growled weakly, its body wrapped in sharp, bloodthirsty vines that tightened with every movement. Chu Xian's eyes gleamed with ambition as he stepped closer. "Spirit flower," he said, his voice low and full of resolve. "My path to building my foundation rests on you." The streets of Qinghe City were alive with the buzz of daily life, people moving about their mundane routines, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing right under their noses. Among the crowd, a figure cloaked in black moved with quiet determination. Chu Xian, his hat pulled low to obscure his face, walked silently, his mind racing. The spirit flower had been planted on the blue sea star and would only mature when the blood mirror was restored. His mission this time was crystal clear, to obtain magic skills suitable for the foundation period. As he activated his hearing technique, the range of his red aura expanded, thanks to his snail companion's recent glow-up. The glow wasn't just for show, it meant business. Chu Xian muttered under his breath that he needed to find a disciple of the Wuji sect to connect with Lu Junxiong. It didn't take long for his technique to pick up a conversation. 2 cloaked figures were talking in hushed tones nearby. It wasn't hard to figure out who they were. Melon Guy and Brunette, Chengge and Wei Hua. Melon Guy's voice came through first, his tone laced with worry as he asked if Zhang Cheng would even show up. Chu Xian smirked to himself, the thrill of the hunt lighting up his thoughts. "Found them." Brunette's voice was steady, urging caution. They couldn't afford to get caught, or worse, betrayed. But Chu Xian scoffed under his breath. Caution wasn't going to cut it. Even if Zhang Qing wasn't a traitor, trouble would follow him like a bad smell. Adjusting his hat, Chu Xian decided it was best to keep his distance for now. He'd deal with them when the time was right. The street's calm was shattered when a head, wrapped in white cloth, was tossed onto the ground. The crowd gasped in horror, their murmurs filling the air like static. A tall man with striking blue hair stepped forward, oozing an aura of menace. With a smug grin, he introduced himself as Ouyang Hao, the Shigang sect's 4th disciple. His voice was loud and commanding as he declared his mission, hunting down the remnants of the Wuji sect. The head on the ground? Zhang Cheng's. The crowd recoiled as Ouyang gloated, his tone making it clear he wasn't just here to hunt, he was here to make a statement. When one brave, or foolish, soul in the crowd dared to question his actions, Ouyang silenced him in the blink of an eye, slicing the man's hands clean off. His expression was cold, his voice even colder. "Ignorant and stupid," he sneered. I'll spare your life, this time. As Ouyang's sharp eyes swept over the crowd, they locked onto Melon Guy and Brunette. His twisted grin widened, and his voice dripped with malice. Demonic villains, he sneered, his tone almost playful, like a predator toying with its prey. Melon Guy and Brunette didn't wait around for a second invitation. They bolted, weaving through the panicked crowd as fast as their legs could carry them. Ouyang wasted no time, launching a blue beam of energy in their direction. The blast tore through the street, nearly hitting innocent bystanders. The crowd erupted in whispers, their fear palpable. Ouyang Hao is too overbearing, one muttered. Another hissed for them to keep their voices down. Ouyang was no ordinary disciple. He was a genius of the Shingang sect, already at the 9th stage of Qi refinement. His reputation for cruelty was legendary, and he was a rising star destined for greatness. Chu Xian, still concealed among the crowd, listened to the whispers with a smirk. A genius disciple? More like a fat sheep ready for slaughter. His eyes flicked to the severed head on the ground, and an idea began to form. The chase intensified as Ouyang closed in on Melon Guy and Brunette. The red and purple lights of their aura streaked through the air as Ouyang's blue energy bore down on them. With a flick of his hand, Ouyang unleashed his spiritual sword finger technique. The sheer force of it sent waves of panic through the duo. They thought it was all over, until a crimson shield suddenly appeared, blocking the attack. High above, Ouyang hovered on his flying sword, his eyes narrowing as he glared at the figure who had intervened. The man stood tall, his presence commanding. "Have you forgotten me so quickly?" he asked, his voice steady and cold. "I am Zhang Qing. I've returned to claim your eyes." Melon Guy froze. Zhang Qing? But how? It didn't make sense. Ouyang wasn't buying it either. His voice dripped with scorn as he drew his second sword. "You're playing tricks," he growled. With his attention diverted, Brunette and Melon Guy took the opportunity to escape, disappearing into the chaos. Ouyang's focus snapped back to the imposter. "Demonic cultivators always have tricks," he sneered. "You let my prey escape. If you don't satisfy me, I'll make your life worse than death." But Chu Xian, now disguised as Zhang Qing, wasn't fazed. His crimson eyes glowed ominously as he laughed. "You've got it all wrong. You're the prey here." The tension snapped like a drawn bowstring as Chu Xian's zombie trio emerged, charging toward Ouyang with unrelenting force. But Ouyang moved like a storm, cutting through them with ease. His sword aura was relentless, indestructible, or so he thought. When he finally reached Chu Xian, ready to deliver the killing blow, his blade was stopped midair by something unexpected. A steel blood worm coiled around the blade like a living chain, its metallic body impervious to the sharp edge. Ouyang's eyes widened in disbelief. The worm had evolved. Chu Xian wasted no time, activating his blood-binding skill. The worm wrapped itself around Ouyang's body, tightening like a vice. But Ouyang wasn't done. "Interesting," he said, his grin returning. With a burst of golden energy, he activated a Shingang sect secret skill. "Release!" The energy shattered Chu Xian's binding, and Ouyang's aura flared brighter than ever. With his chi energy gathered at his fingertips, he prepared to unleash his ultimate move. "Your little tricks end here," he spat. Chu Xian's grin widened. "Is this your trump card? Looks impressive. I've been waiting for a decent opponent." Ouyang charged, his voice echoing as he screamed the name of his killer technique. "Shingang Absolute Sword Finger!" The air crackled with raw energy as he closed in on Chu Xian. But in a flash of smoke and chaos, everything changed. Ouyang froze mid-attack, his finger piercing nothing but air. Behind him stood Chu Xian, his zombie Xiaolong by his side. Ouyang's chest, however, was no longer whole. A gaping hole had been drilled through him by Xiaolong's devastating fist. This kinda reminded me of a scene from One Piece. Blood poured from the wound as Ouyang dropped to his knees. His voice trembled, weak and broken. "How is this possible? Who are you?" Chu Xian removed his Zhangqing disguise with a flourish, his cold voice cutting through the air. "The sex genius is just that." Back at the Wuji sect's hideout, Melon Guy and Brunette reported their escape to Master Lu. "It must have been Chu Xian!" Melon Guy exclaimed, his voice filled with awe. "Senior brother Chu saved us twice." But Master Lu wasn't impressed. His voice was sharp as he barked his orders. "This kind of disciple must not be allowed to cause trouble. Where did you meet Ouyang Hao? Take me to rescue him now." A voice cut through the tension like a knife. "No need." Chu Xian stepped into the room, holding Ouyang Hao's severed head like a trophy. His voice was calm, almost casual. "Wuji Sect's refinement disciple Chu Xian greets Uncle Lu." Melon Guy's voice bursts with uncontainable excitement, practically shaking the air around him as he yells, "Senior brother Chu? You're alive? That's freaking amazing." His joy is so raw it's almost infectious. But the brunette standing next to him isn't as animated. His gaze locks onto the severed head dangling from Chu Xian's hand. The shock on his face is undeniable as he points at it, his words coming out slow and full of disbelief. Is that Ouyang Hao? Chu Xian's expression doesn't change. He's as calm as someone discussing their dinner plans. Well, I took the chance to avenge junior brother Zhang Qing, he says casually, as if holding the head of a once feared genius isn't a big deal. Because for him, it isn't. Master Lu steps forward, his tone a mix of pride and amazement, unable to hide how impressed he is. Chu Xian, you've grown up so quickly. When the sect was destroyed, you were only at the 4th stage of qi refinement, barely scraping by. And now you've killed Ouyang Hao? That can only mean you've reached at least the 9th stage. At this, Melon Guy's face twists comically, his eyes so wide they look like they might pop out of his head. Ninth stage? His voice is a stammer, disbelief dripping from every word. Even the brunette, who had been silent up until now, flinches, his expression betraying his struggle to process what he's just heard. Master Lu's pride deepens, his voice booming with satisfaction as he steps closer to Chu Xian. Great. I never thought talent like yours would come from the Wuji sect. It's truly a blessing for us. Chu Xian, stay with us at the Wu family estate. I'll do everything I can to help you break through to foundation. But Chu Xian, ever the lone wolf, shakes his head. His tone is steady, carrying a quiet but unshakable resolve. I appreciate your kindness, uncle, but I intend to rely on my own strength to reach the next stage. Master Lu's brow furrows, concern flashing across his face as he presses further. Why are you so determined to go at this alone, Chu Xian? What are you hiding? Chu Xian's thoughts turn inside him, but outwardly, he places a hand on his chest, his voice taking on a dramatic edge. Uncle, this situation isn't optimistic. If all the resources were poured into me, my brothers' lives would only become harder. I can't live with myself knowing I've made their paths more difficult just for my selfish gains. His words hit hard, cutting through the tension like a blade. Both Melon Guy and the brunette are visibly moved, their expressions softening. Melon Guy's voice trembles with admiration as he blurts out, Senior Brother Chu, you're so selfless. Master Lu places a hand on Chu Xian's shoulder, his tone heavy with emotion. It's rare to see someone with a heart like yours, Chu Xian. If the sect still existed, I would have never let talent like yours wander off on its own. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to come to me. Chu Xian hesitates for a moment, his tone careful but direct as he asks, Uncle, I was wondering about the blood refining scripture. How much does it cost? Without hesitation, Lu raises 5 fingers, his voice calm. 500 blood beads, and I'll give you a copy. Chu Xian's mind races for a moment, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. In the past, even 1,000 sect contribution points wouldn't have been enough to exchange for something like this. Uncle Lu really is giving me a good deal. Outwardly though, he sighs, fumbling with his pouch as he blurts out, Thank you for your kindness, uncle, but I only have 300 blood beads, plus the spirit stones I got from Ouyang Hao. Lu chuckles, brushing off the difference with a wave of his hand. Don't worry about it. They're resources meant for disciples anyway. If they don't need it, I can just give it to you for free. Chu Xian freezes for a moment, stunned by Lu's generosity. His earlier wariness dissolves, replaced by a newfound respect. This disciple is truly grateful, he mutters, his voice soft but sincere. Lu hands him the blue book, the coveted blood refining scripture, his tone fatherly and full of warmth. Take care of yourself out there, Chu Xian. Don't push yourself too hard. If trouble comes your way, come find me at the Wu family estate. Chu Xian bows deeply, his voice carrying the weight of his gratitude as he replies, Yes, uncle. As he leaves, his brothers and Lu's voices echo behind him, their farewells tinged with both pride and sadness. Chu Xian, however, is lost in thought as he walks away. The Wuji sect may have been a demonic sect, but someone as kind and good-hearted as Lu Jinxiong exists here. This world, the Tsengchuan continent, is there even a place where good people can thrive? His thoughts linger, heavy with contemplation, until the scene shifts to the Wuji sect training grounds. There, Su Ming, the arrogant traitor who once betrayed Chu Xian, is blindsided by shocking news. Uncle Lu, how did we get so many blood beads? His voice is sharp, suspicion dripping from every word. Lu's reply is simple but heavy with meaning. They were brought by Chu Xian. At this, Su Ming's face twists in disbelief, his voice rising. Chu Xian? He's still alive? The brunette, who had been silently observing, finally speaks, his tone cutting like a blade. Not only is he alive, but he's reached the 9th stage of qi refinement and killed Ouyang Hao. Su Ming freezes like a statue, his thoughts a chaotic mess. Did Chu Xian really kill those guards at Taiping? But how the hell did his power grow so fast? The brunette smirks, his words sharp and mocking as he addresses Su Ming. If you think so little of senior brother Chu, then you won't want his share of the blood beads, right? Melon guy, never one to miss a chance to tease, jumps in with a grin. If you don't want them, we'll happily take them. Su Ming panics, his desperation spilling over as he stammers. I want them. I want them. His hands reach out greedily, clutching at the air as if afraid the beads will vanish. But deep inside, jealousy burns like fire. Damn it, Chu Xian must have found something extraordinary. How else could he grow so strong so quickly? What the hell is he hiding? Back at the Grand Hotel, Chu Xian's hideout. The atmosphere is anything but calm. A shimmering purple energy leaks from a small golden mirror, rousing one of the wolves guarding his room. The mirror, the very artifact that summoned Chu Xian to this apocalyptic world, hums with power as Chu Xian steps through. His wolves rush to greet him, their tails wagging with unrestrained excitement. He pets them briefly before heading inside, where two of his men greet him with relieved smiles. Boss, you're finally back. It's been 2 months, but everything is fine. The garden core were harvested without a hitch. Chu Xian smiles, his voice calm and approving. With Xiao Hu and the others patrolling with the spirit dogs, plus the arrays, it looks like no one dared approach the Grand Hotel. But his focus quickly shifts as he opens a nearby door. His thoughts are sharp and focused. The most important thing now is the spirit flower. Purple energy spills out through the gap, and as he steps inside, his eyes widen at the sight. The room is overrun with spiky purple vines, their flowers blooming in abundance. There are so many of them. These spirit flowers are enough for me to refine 3 foundation blood pills, he exclaims, his excitement barely contained. But his expression darkens as his gaze falls on the unconscious Wolf King, its body wrapped tightly in vines. He crouches down, his voice low and cold. You've lasted this long thanks to your strong body. But now that everything is ready, your time is up. With a swift motion, he disconnects the main vine, ending the Wolf King's life without hesitation. The room fills with the ingredients he's carefully cultivated for his next plan. The path of cultivation, it's all about resources. Talent alone isn't enough, he muses. Sitting before an ancient furnace, Chu Xian begins the refining process. 1 foundation blood pill can increase the success rate of breaking through by about 30%. As the red spheres of energy brew within the furnace, Chu Xian retrieves them one by one, their power radiating in his hands. With 1 orthodox foundation pill from Ouyang House storage, I have 4 chances to break through to foundation, he calculates. Dropping a golden pill into his mouth, golden energy surges around him like a storm, his hair standing on end. But he quickly regains focus, gathering the energy into a concentrated ball that dissolves into his body. The power of just 1 pill isn't enough to liquefy my spirit power completely, he thinks, his resolve hardening. Foundation blood pill, work for me. He swallows another pill, the air around him becoming thick with chi energy. The yin-yang symbol projects behind him as his glowing eyes focus with intensity. Then, in a flash, his consciousness shifts. Chu Xian finds himself in a vast, dark blue space, like the depths of an ocean. Confusion flickers across his face as he mutters, "This is..." Before he can make sense of it, a thunderous voice cuts through the void, filled with rage and hate. "Chu Xian, you cruel, demonic cultivator." A massive wolf silhouette emerges from the shadows, its presence oppressive and suffocating. "I will never let you break through foundation." The wolf lunges toward him, its jaws wide enough to swallow him whole. But Chu Xian remains calm, his thoughts sharp and clear. No, this is a hard demon illusion. The creature let out a deafening roar, its immense aura crushing the air around it, but Chu Xian didn't even flinch. His gaze was sharp, unbothered, as he raised a single finger. From its tip, a glowing red spiritual energy began to swirl, crackling with raw power. Without hesitation, Chu Xian unleashed his energy bullets at the monstrous wolf in front of him, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Get lost!" he shouted, his tone dripping with venom. But even as he attacked, his mind was racing, sharp and analytical, piecing together the situation like a puzzle. He thought bitterly, although the foundation-building blood pill mimics the effects of a genuine foundation-building pill, it's nothing more than a counterfeit, a desperate crutch for demon cultivators. Its medicine is tainted, filled with the resentment of living souls, and that poison seeps into the heart, creating this hard demon illusion. The wolf's form twisted, its dark aura growing denser, its piercing red eyes slicing through the watery barrier between the two. It lunged forward, relentless, its energy like a tide that couldn't be stopped. Chu Xian grimaced. The hard demon energy was like an infection that couldn't be destroyed. Every attack only seemed to feed its strength, making it grow fiercer. His aura bullets slammed into the beast over and over, but the damn thing just kept regenerating, like some cruel cosmic joke. The wolf let out a guttural snarl, its voice deep and mocking as it taunted him. "Stop wasting your energy, Chu Xian!" It growled, its body swelling, growing until it loomed over him like a mountain, a colossal figure that made him look like an ant. "You're nothing but mediocre. No talent, no family, no background. You couldn't even pass the threshold of a proper sect like the Shili sect. You're a nobody, a pathetic fool who doesn't even deserve to dream of breaking through the foundation building stage. Just give up. Cultivation will only lead you to misery." Chu Xian's eyes burned with defiance. His fists clenched so tightly his knuckles went white. "Discuss the Tao? Fine then. So you want to talk about the Tao?" He spat back, his voice cutting through the wolf's tirade. The beast's voice rumbled like thunder. "The sage is merciless, treating people as livestock. The righteous sects monopolize resources, locking the weak in chains and reinforcing class divides. Following the so-called righteous path leads nowhere. It's a road to insignificance." Chu Xian's lips curled into a smirk, his eyes fierce as he pointed a finger at the creature. "And yet, the path of demon cultivation is no better," he fired back. "You seize the essence of heaven and earth, drain the vitality from all things, and call it power? How could such an unorthodox path lead to true success?" The wolf's massive claw, crackling with blue lightning, came crashing down toward him, but Chu Xian didn't even blink. He stood tall, arms outstretched, his voice rising above the chaos. "If the heavens won't give it to me, I'll carve my own path. I'll dominate, even if it means wading through rivers of corpses. I now possess the blood mirror destiny and the resources of an entire planet. I, Chu Xian, will defy the heavens themselves and rewrite my fate." The wolf hesitated for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. Its massive form began to crack, its skin rotting away in an instant, leaving behind only a pile of shattered bones. As the remains fell into the waters below, something new emerged, a pair of delicate hands, pale and almost glowing. From the bones rose a stunning woman with feline ears, her body barely wrapped in a thin, silk-like cloth that left little to the imagination. She floated upside down toward Chu Xian, her movements slow and deliberate, her gaze seductive. Most men would have been utterly disarmed by her presence, a literal nosebleed moment. But Chu Xian, nah, my boy wasn't about to simp. His expression didn't falter for a second. She leaned in, her hand brushing against his shoulder with a teasing touch. Her voice was smooth, almost hypnotic, as she whispered, "Chu Xian, you were never inherently evil. Think back to why you began cultivating in the first place." She floated behind him, pressing herself against his back, her breath warm against his ear. "When you first crossed over, you were oppressed, living on the edge of survival, willing to do anything for power. But now, look at you. You're already the strongest in Donghu City. No one can threaten you anymore." She moved in front of him, her silk falling away completely, leaving her entirely exposed, but Chu Xian only frowned, unimpressed, almost disappointed. Her voice dripped with temptation as she said, "Power, wealth, beauty, it can all be yours. Stop fighting, and you can enjoy everything life has to offer." Chu Xian's smirk returned, sharp and unyielding. His voice was steady and cold as he replied, "As expected of the infamous hard demon illusion. You almost had me, but this little performance of yours? It's just a stall tactic to outlast the effects of the foundation-building blood pill." Her composure cracked, her body tensing as his words cut through her like a blade. He raised his hand, revealing a crimson pill glowing with ominous energy. Without hesitation, he popped 2 of them into his mouth, swallowing them down like candy. His body erupted with fiery energy, his aura exploding outward as flames began to consume him. The woman's eyes filled with panic as she screamed, "You're insane! You actually dared to swallow 2 foundation-building blood pills at once? The spiritual power might grow, but the resentment of the living souls will only make me stronger. You'll die an even more miserable death." Chu Xian's lips curled into a menacing grin, his aura now overwhelming, his presence dominating. "No," he said calmly, his voice cutting through her panic like a knife. "I'm done wasting time with you. This little illusionary discussion of the Tao. It's reminded me of one thing. No reason, no obstacle, no force can stop the spirit of human progress." His body trembled slightly as fiery wings burst from his back, flames engulfing him completely. He shot into the air like a phoenix, leaving an explosion of fire in his wake. His eyes now glowed a blazing red as he hovered above her, his voice booming with power and conviction. "No reason can stop me." The woman, unable to withstand the searing heat of his flames, muttered weakly, "You've won." Her voice trembled with defeat, her seductive demeanor completely shattered. But Chu Xian wasn't done. Raising a hand, he summoned his flames, his expression cold and merciless as he aimed his power at her. She fell to her knees, begging, her voice desperate. "Chu Xian, I'll stop. I won't obstruct your breakthrough anymore. What more do you want from me? His voice was deathly calm, his aura suffocating. I'm just curious, he said, his tone sharp and cutting. Whether the blood fiend magic refining scripture can burn away this heart demon of yours. Chu Xian clenched his fist, and his magic lashed out like a serpent, wrapping tightly around the cat girl. She screamed in agony, her cries echoing through the space, the heat of his magic searing her skin. Well, considering she was completely naked, it probably burned even worse. Her voice rose, desperate and filled with pain. What? No! Chu Xian! You are cruel, heartless! Are you not afraid of retribution? But Chu Xian barely spared her a glance, his tone cold and detached as he watched her body burn away into raw energy. Retribution? You're wasting your breath, beast. That's not something I'm worried about. The flames consumed her entirely, leaving nothing behind but pure energy, which Chu Xian absorbed into himself without hesitation. His confidence grew with every passing second, his voice ringing with conviction as he declared, My merits will only grow greater. My path of demon cultivation will stretch endlessly, to eternity. Meanwhile, outside his consciousness, his physical body remained seated in a meditative state, his expression calm but intense. Then, all at once, his eyes snapped open, glowing a fierce, unrelenting red. A thunderous shout erupted from his mouth. Break for me. A tidal wave of energy exploded from his body, radiating outward in every direction. His aura was suffocating, and his glowing red eyes gleamed with an intensity that could pierce the heavens. The power surged beyond the confines of his room, breaking through walls and spreading across the entire building. Outside, pedestrians trying to avoid the wandering zombies stopped in their tracks, shielding their faces from the fiery red light that shot through the roof like a beacon in the night. Even the zombies, mindless and devoid of consciousness, paused in confusion, their heads turning toward the light. Far away, in the headquarters of the Black Security Company, the phenomenon caught the attention of the boss, Wang Gangjian, who stood with his men. The cap's subordinate beside him spoke with urgency. A strange phenomenon has appeared. It could be a sign of the zombie tide. Wang Gangjian's face darkened as he addressed his men. Once the zombies form a tide, it's no different from a natural disaster. Wherever they go, everything is destroyed. Even level 3 extraordinary beings don't stand a chance. You, investigate the surrounding situation immediately. If there's any sign of a zombie tide, report back at once. His men replied swiftly. Understood. Back in Chu Xian's room, the energy began to stabilize. Surrounded by the red glow of his aura, Chu Xian's lips curled into a triumphant smile. His voice was filled with excitement, yet there was an eerie calm to it. I've broken through. Foundation building level 1. He laughed softly, almost in disbelief. To think, becoming a foundation building cultivator means an additional 100 years to my lifespan. I've truly transcended the ordinary now. His smile grew wider as he continued. From now on, I can fly without the aid of external tools. And not just that, I can refine a personal magic weapon, binding it to my soul so it grows alongside me. It'll be leagues stronger than any ordinary magic tool. He reached for the Blood Fiend Magic Refining Scripture, the book Master Lu had sold to him. Flipping through its pages, his eyes rested on a specific section, and he muttered, In the Blood Fiend Magic Refining Scripture, the most suitable weapon for me is the soul-devouring rope. The text described its terrifying abilities. Once activated, the rope could launch a piercing attack, targeting the soul directly, and its wielder could control it with precision. The crafting process, however, was no small feat. The rope required hot steel as its base, combined with rare materials like white bone bamboo, the soul of a powerful being, and 6 other components, including intoxicating vine. The refinement process alone would take 36 days. Insha steel is a material crafted by demon cultivators. It's made by placing ordinary steel in areas rich with Insha energy, letting it absorb the Yin Qi. It sounds simple, but Insha zones on the Tsengxian continent are heavily guarded by spies from the righteous sections. If I get too close, it'll put me in mortal danger. He paused, weighing his options. Even here on Blue Star, condensing Insha requires the blood and souls of at least 10,000 zombies. His gaze sharpened as he pieced together a plan. Based on how they behave, zombies usually roam alone. But wait, those undead are drawn to high-level spirit cores. If I hunt some extraordinary beasts, I can use their spirit cores as bait to lure the horde. Then, with the right array, I can accelerate the formation of Insha steel. That will make crafting my personal magic weapon almost effortless. The scene shifted to Xiao Bao, darting through the streets like a blur, a glowing green core clutched tightly in his hand. Behind him, a horde of zombies stumbled and scrambled to keep up, drawn to the core's energy like moths to a flame. Meanwhile, a fat man crouched behind a building, observing the chaos from a safe distance. High above the city, Chu Xian stood on his flying sword, his gaze sweeping over the streets as his zombie trio herded thousands of undead from 3 different directions, funneling them toward a central location. Chu Xian's mind calculated quickly. The number of zombies has almost reached 10,000. I need to find the right ground, bury the demonic steel, and activate the formation to begin the refinement process. As Chu Xian scanned the area, his eyes caught sight of the fat man sprinting away from the scene, his movements frantic. Chu Xian frowned. Who's that guy? He'd better not mess this up. I don't want to lose merit because of some random bystander. The fat man rushed toward the black security company, gasping for air as he reached his comrades. 5 high-level zombies. It's a sign of a zombie tide, he stuttered. I also found a bunch of first-level spirit beast skeletons outside. The zombies must have eaten them. The capped man's face tensed as he processed the information. If the zombies provoke the spirit beasts into gathering, Dongwu City will be wiped out completely. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. The capped man turned to see one of his comrades being dragged into the shadows, a giant spider sinking its fangs into his neck. The poor man's pleas for help were drowned out by the sound of the spider's venomous enzymes corroding his body. Within seconds, he was nothing but spider food. The fat man, thinking he was the main character of this story, stepped forward, pulling out what appeared to be a magical spear. But instead of a traditional weapon, he used his own unique ability, fat manipulation. His body shimmered as he shaped his excess fat into a spear, hurling it at the spider with surprising speed, like a thunderbolt made of pure grease. The spear impaled the beast, but it was too late to save their comrade, whose body had already been reduced to a liquefied mess. The capped man observed the scene grimly. Spiders are mutated spirit beasts. Even though they don't form spiritual energy cores, their venom and enzymes are lethal. There's no saving someone once they're bitten. The fat man glanced nervously at the room ahead, which was filled with webs. His stomach churned as he muttered, "There are so many webs in there. What if there's more than one spider?" The silence was heavy, but Fatty's intuition was sharper than anyone gave him credit for. He was right, too damn right. From the shadows, an army of spiders began crawling out, their numbers quickly swelling to about 20. But the real nightmare? Behind them loomed a massive spider with 6 glinting, soulless eyes, a grotesque predator that screamed, "Boss fight." The guy in the cap froze for a moment before blurting out, "Shit, this is an actual spider's nest." Fatty, true to his survival instincts, turned on his heels and yelled, "Run for your lives!" But before they could make it far, the giant spider's web shot out, snaring Fatty and his friend mid-run. They dangled upside down like bait, Fatty screaming his lungs out, "Help me! Somebody save me!" The guy in the cap's face twisted in panic as he recognized the monster. A 3rd-level spider mother? Are you kidding me? He pulled out his dagger in desperation, slashing at the sticky, glistening web with everything he had, but it was like trying to cut steel with a butter knife. Damn it! Damn it! I can't cut through this! It's over! We're done for! Despair choked the air as the spider closed in, its fangs glinting with venom. Just when it seemed like the end, a burst of red energy sliced through the web like it was paper, freeing the trapped duo in an instant. The guy in the cap stared in disbelief, his mind racing. There's no way. That web is the strongest material spun by a 3rd-level spider mother. I gave it everything I had and couldn't even scratch it. Who the hell just cut through it with one blow? Before he could process, all eyes turned upward. There, riding on a flying sword, was none other than Chu Xian, his figure exuding power and calm arrogance. He never used the sword for battle, preferring his bloodworm as his weapon of choice. But now he was floating like some mythical figure straight out of a legend. The guy in the cap and Fatty could only stammer, A sword immortal? Even the spider army froze, their predatory instincts kicking in, sensing the overwhelming danger. But Chu Xian, unfazed, looked down on them with sharp eyes, his mind already calculating. What luck, he thought to himself. The spiritual energy core of a 3rd-level spirit beast is so much more potent than those of the lower levels. This is going to be fun. He smirked coldly, his voice cutting through the tension as he taunted the spider mother. How hilarious! A puny little insect like you dares to challenge me. Without waiting for a response, he summoned his magical tower, and with a commanding voice, called out, "Come forth!" Descending from the sky like harbingers of doom, Chu Xian's zombie trio landed with an earth-shaking impact. What followed was nothing short of a massacre. The zombies tore through the spider army with inhuman strength and terrifying efficiency. Each swing of their fists, and every burst of power was a sick montage of destruction that left even the guy in the cap slack-jawed. He can control zombies? He muttered, his voice trembling. Fatty, on the verge of fainting, pointed shakily. Wait, those zombies, weren't they the ones leading the zombie tide earlier? Does that mean the tide was caused by a human? The spider mother, realizing the dire situation, shot a web directly at Chu Xian, desperate to turn the tide. But Chu Xian simply raised a hand, purple energy crackling at his fingertips. Hellfire explosion! He roared, unleashing a fiery blast of purple flames that incinerated the web midair. The flames devoured the silk as if it were nothing, leaving nothing but ash. The spider mother screeched in fear and turned to flee. But Chu Xian's laughter echoed like a sinister thunderclap. Run? You think you can escape from me? The flames intensified, consuming the spider mother as she writhed in agony, her screams fading into silence. The zombie trio stood motionless, watching the carnage with eerie detachment, as did the two black security members, frozen in awe and terror. When the flames died down, the spider mother's corpse lay charred, her body yielding 3 glowing green energy cores and a glimmering silk thread. Chu Xian retrieved the loot effortlessly with his magic, inspecting the silk with fascination. Tempered by hellfire, and it's become even stronger? What a surprise. This will be perfect material for the soul-killing rope. Handing the energy cores to his zombie trio, he ordered. Use these to attract more zombies. Let's keep the tide rolling. Turning back, his expression darkened, and the two men felt every nerve in their bodies scream in fear. They knew. The zombie tide, the thing that had terrorized them and countless others, was caused by this man. And now, he was looking at them with a cold, suffocating aura. Was he going to silence them for knowing too much? Chu Xian's voice, sharp and icy, cut through their thoughts. Are you two with the black security company? They immediately dropped to their knees, bowing frantically. Yes. Immortal, we thank you for saving us. Chu Xian's eyes narrowed as he thought to himself. They're terrified. Good. Makes things simpler. Without breaking his intimidating demeanor, he commanded. Leave this place immediately. Go back to your people and tell them this. No one is to come within a kilometer of this area. If anyone dares to disobey. He didn't finish, but the unspoken threat was enough. The guy in the cap scrambled to his feet, screaming. Understood. We won't disturb you ever again. They bolted like their lives depended on it, which, to be fair, they probably did. Chu Xian watched them disappear before pulling a flag from his inventory. Surveying the eerie, demonic aura that lingered in the spider's nest, he smirked. This place reeks of dark energy. Wang Gangjang slammed his hand on the table so hard, it probably left a dent. His voice boomed through the room, absolutely drowning out any other noise. Flying with a sword? Controlling zombies? Freaking mastering fire? And even slicing through the threads of a level 3 spider mother? Are you seriously telling me there's someone this insane running around Dongwu City? His mind raced as the reports from his men replayed vividly in his head, like a bad movie he couldn't turn off. He remembered the scene of 3 zombies absolutely decimating a wolf pack. Wait, zombies. His eyes narrowed, connecting the dots. Controlling zombies. Wasn't there that incident on the highway? The one where a whole pack of wolves got wiped out by some transcendent who could control the undead? His voice trailed off, but his suspicion only grew heavier. Capped guy, leaning back like he had 0 cares in the world, chimed in with his usual nonchalant tone. Right. Could it be the same dude? Fatty, on the other hand, nearly leapt out of his chair, his voice cracking with disbelief. So you're telling me we've got a level 3, no, maybe even level 4 transcendent just casually hanging out in Dongwu City? Wang Gangjang rubbed his chin, his eyes narrowing as he shut them tightly, deep in thought. This wasn't just some random transcendent flexing their power for fun. This guy's strong, no doubt about it. But provoking a zombie tide? That's not just some reckless move. What's their endgame? His voice dropped, heavy with the weight of his realization. If things go south, the survivors of Dongwu City are screwed. Utterly and completely. Fatty, bless his naive heart, jumped to defend Chu Xian, his voice loud and unwavering, though maybe a little too hopeful. No way. No one's insane enough to destroy a city over a disagreement. That's some cartoon villain shit. Cap Guy nodded in agreement, his voice calm but firm. Exactly. He saved me and Brother Tang. He doesn't seem like the type to go full evil mastermind on us. But Wang Gangjang wasn't about to sit around debating vibes. The man stood tall, his energy shifting as his tone turned sharp and unyielding. Enough. I'm going there myself to figure out his intentions. Cap Guy immediately shot up, panic lacing his voice. Brother, that's way too dangerous. But Wang Gangjang waved him off without hesitation, shaking his head like a man who had already made peace with his decision. Dangerous? There are hundreds of lives at Black Blade Security riding on this. As their leader, I don't get the luxury of playing it safe. His aura shifted dramatically, a golden light radiating from his body like he just powered up in a video game. Stay here. I'll try to negotiate with him, convince him to lead the zombie tide away from the city. But if I fail? His voice grew heavier, the weight of his responsibility pressing down on everyone in the room. You all evacuate Donghu City. I'll use my strength as a level 2 transcendent to buy you as much time as I can. Determined, resolute, and maybe just a little reckless, Wang Gangjang left, his massive tank-like truck rumbling as it carried him straight into Chu Xian's zone. As he approached, an eerie black aura with a red glow greeted him, blanketing the area in a suffocating atmosphere. He stepped out of his truck, immediately hit by the oppressive energy. His heart sank as he muttered to himself, "Why the hell is it so foggy all of a sudden? Is this another one of his tricks?" Reaching for his walkie-talkie, he cursed under his breath when it crackled uselessly. Damn it! Why now? The silence was deafening, unnatural. His instincts screamed at him that something was off. Tens of thousands of zombies gathered here, yet it's dead quiet? That makes zero sense. The unease clawed at his chest until a voice, cold and sharp, cut through the gloom like a blade. "You're with Black Blade Security, aren't you?" Chu Xian's voice carried an icy authority that made Wang Gangjang's blood run cold. Descending from the sky on his flying sword, Chu Xian's presence was nothing short of overwhelming. "Didn't your colleague warn you not to come near? This place is dangerous." Wang Gangjang's heart thudded in his chest as he stared at the transcendent before him. He's the one," he muttered internally, barely able to process the pressure radiating from Chu Xian. Summoning the courage to speak, his voice trembled slightly. I came because I'm worried this zombie tide could threaten the survivors. I had to see the situation for myself." Chu Xian's gaze was piercing, almost mocking. "Humph, then let me show you." With a casual wave of his hand, the fog cleared, revealing a mountain of zombie corpses piled high like some grotesque monument. A red beam of energy pulsed ominously behind Chu Xian, who hovered above it all on his sword. Wang Gangjang's jaw dropped, words failing him as he took in the scene. This is insane." Chu Xian's cold voice pulled him out of his shock. "Any zombie or spirit beast that steps into this area will never leave alive. That's all you need to know." Without another word, Chu Xian walked away, leaving Wang Gangjang to process the sheer power he had just witnessed. Driving back to his base, Wang Gangjang's grip on the steering wheel was tight, his mind racing. His men's voices crackled through the walkie-talkie, their worry evident. "Brother, what's the situation? Are you okay?" Taking a deep breath, he finally replied, his tone steady but laced with relief. "Everything's fine now. There's no need to worry about the zombie tide. In fact, Donghu City might just be the safest place in the future." 2 days later, Chu Xian stood before a massive volcano, not a real one, but a horrifying construct made entirely of zombie corpses, with red energy oozing like lava. Hovering on his sword, he smirked. "It's time to see the results." Releasing his blood worm into the sea of energy, it slithered through the crimson glow, finally grasping the Yin Sha steel from its depths. Chu Xian held the steel, feeling the malevolent energy coursing through it. "Not bad," he thought. "Nearly 100,000 zombies condensed this high-quality aura. Finally, I have all the materials I need for the soul-binding rope." Suddenly, the sky above him shifted. Dark clouds parted as golden lightning struck down, illuminating the volcano. Red energy erupted into the air, colliding with the golden light, forming a dragon of pure gold and a fiery red phoenix. The two celestial beings spiraled above him, their forms radiant and awe-inspiring. Chu Xian's grin widened as he realized what was happening. Dragon and phoenix auspicious clouds, cleansing soul golden rain. He could barely contain his excitement. This phenomenon is even grander than the last. Golden rain began to fall, and Chu Xian felt its power seep into his very soul. His mind cleared, his cultivation advancing rapidly. "My soul has doubled in strength," he thought, shielding his eyes from the blinding light. "This golden rain is like enlightenment. My control over corpses has skyrocketed. Truly, this phenomenon is boundless." Even the wild grass around him began to glow, benefiting from the rain's mystical energy. "Heh," he chuckled. "Even the plants here owe me one. Maybe some unique spiritual life will emerge in the future." 3 months later, Chu Xian's base was thriving. His men worked the fields, a stark contrast to the apocalyptic chaos outside. In his room, Chu Xian sat cross-legged, a whip lying in front of him on a glowing magic circle. His eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he picked it up. "Finally refined," he muttered, wrapping it around his hand. Testing it with a casual flick, the whip exploded against the wall, sending his underlings outside into a panic. "What the hell was that?" one of them shouted, his voice cracking. Chu Xian smirked, binding the rope to his soul. "As expected. It's like an extension of my will. Its potential is unmatched." Opening his blood-refining scripture, he began planning his next steps. The Blood Fiend Refining Demon scripture is divided into 9 layers, each tied to the levels of foundation establishment. Each level unlocks a new spell, and with yin energy, their effects increase exponentially. For most, this amplification was meaningless. But for Chu Xian, with his endless supply of yin energy, it was a game changer. Gathering the malevolent energy into vials, he felt the power surge through him. Smirking, he thought, "I'll use this yin energy to push my cultivation to the next level. Let's see how far I can go." In the heart of Longjiang City, the capital of Linjiang Province, the tension was almost tangible in the grand meeting hall. General Yi, the embodiment of authority and control, stood at the head of the room. His voice boomed as he ordered his commanders to take their seats, the weight of his words instantly silencing the chatter. Without any preamble, he laid out the dire reason for this emergency assembly. A colossal underwater creature had surfaced, wreaking havoc in Longjiang. This wasn't just another sea monster story to laugh off over drinks. This thing was a leviathan, over 30 meters long, with the power to drag entire ships to their doom. One of his officers, stepping forward, pointed to a projection of the beast's handiwork, a sunken cargo ship, twisted and broken like a child's discarded toy. The grim reality hit harder when the officer confirmed that all 30 crew members aboard had perished. The room buzzed with murmurs of disbelief and fear. One commander declared that the creature was no ordinary beast. It had to be at least level 3, a threat that was far beyond what they usually faced. Another grimly admitted that, given their current military strength, taking it down would be anything but easy. But they couldn't just sit idly by while this monstrosity terrorized Longjiang. General Yi slammed his fist down, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Their mission wasn't to kill the creature, not yet, but to drive it away, to make it fear the Linjiang army's might. The hall echoed with their unified cry as every commander stood and saluted, ready to carry out their orders. An older man, his voice cautious but filled with purpose, stepped forward. He suggested reaching out to a cultivator he knew of in Donghu City, someone with the power to take on such a beast. General Yi, however, dismissed the idea with a calm arrogance. He acknowledged that extraordinary individuals existed across the empire, but no single man, no matter how powerful, could surpass the might of his 100,000-strong army. Besides, this cultivator was elusive, a shadow that came and went without a trace. Where could they even begin to find him? The idea was left to hang in the air, unanswered, as General Yi moved on to more immediate concerns. Meanwhile, in the MURIM world, Chu Xian sat in a quiet cafe, the picturesque balcony offering a stark contrast to the tension in Longjiang. The waiter approached, handing him a steaming cup of tea. Chu Xian, playing the role of a curious traveling merchant, casually asked about the tea house's name change. The waiter hesitated, his nervousness palpable as he explained that the Wu family, the former owners, had been accused of sheltering remnants of the Wuji sect. Their property had been seized by the Shingang sect in a swift and ruthless move. Chu Xian, though outwardly calm, felt a pang of inevitability. He had seen this coming. The Wu family had drawn too much attention, and trouble had finally caught up with them. He wondered how the remaining members, those who had hidden within the family, were faring now. Leaning into his carefully crafted role, Chu Xian feigned shock, his voice tinged with just the right amount of fear. He asked if the so-called demon cultivators had been captured, pretending to be worried about his own safety. The waiter eagerly reassured him, explaining that the Shingang sect had teamed up with Jilong Temple to hunt down the remnants of the Wuji sect, driving them into the southern cloud mist mountains. The city, he said, was safe now. Chu Xian let out a theatrical sigh of relief, thanking the waiter before sipping his tea. But his mind was already racing. Among the Wu family's hidden members, only Uncle Lu was a Foundation establishment cultivator. The rest wouldn't stand a chance against their pursuers. This was an opportunity he couldn't pass up. His life-bound artifact, the soul shackling cord, required the soul of a Foundation establishment cultivator to unlock its full potential. The zombies of Blue Star were no longer enough. This was his chance to take what he needed. The misty peaks of Cloud Mist Mountain loomed ahead, shrouded in an eerie stillness. Chu Xian moved silently, his senses sharp. Suddenly, a voice rang out, commanding him to stop. Emerging from the fog were 4 men, their uniforms marking them as disciples of the Shingang sect. Chu Xian's face twisted into a mask of fear, but inside, he was smirking. This was exactly what he had hoped for. One of them was a Foundation establishment 3rd stage cultivator, while the other 3 were mere chi refinement cultivators. A perfect haul. He feigned nervousness, scratching his head as he explained that he was just a rogue cultivator hunting monsters for spirit stones. But the disciples weren't buying it. They accused him of being a demon cultivator, their leader sneering as he admitted the truth. It didn't matter whether Chu Xian was guilty or not. His head was worth sect contributions, and that was all they cared about. They attacked in unison, their fists crackling with electric energy, but Chu Xian was already one step ahead. Their strikes passed right through his body as if he were a ghost. Before they could process what had happened, Chu Xian's afterimage dissolved, and the real him appeared above them, his whip drawn and glowing with deadly intent. In a split second, his whip lashed out, decapitating all 4 men in one swift motion. Their lifeless bodies hit the ground as Chu Xian calmly collected their souls, sealing them into his pouch with his soul-seizing technique. He examined his prize, noting that the Chi refinement souls would strengthen his 10,000 soul banner. But the Foundation establishment soul required special care. He needed a quiet place to refine it properly. Without a second glance at the fallen disciples, he disappeared into the mist, already planning his next move. In the dim, cold silence of a cave, Chu Xian meticulously tightened his grip on the whip in his hands, its surface glowing with an ominous red light. Yet, as the glow flickered and died, his face twisted in frustration. Another failure. Covering his face with his hand, he muttered to himself, his voice laced with disappointment. Failed again. Months of effort, battles, and bloodshed, and still, the soul-shackling cord refused to be refined. His tone turned bitter as he addressed the empty air, as if venting to some invisible presence. A month of slaughter, 4 Foundation establishment cultivators, over a dozen Chi refinement cultivators, and yet none of their souls have been strong enough for this damn whip. He secured the whip to his side with a resigned sigh. Looks like I'll need to hunt someone stronger. Someone whose soul isn't as weak and pathetic as theirs. Just as his thoughts began to spiral, a noise from outside the cave snapped him back to reality. The clashing of weapons and shouts echoed closer. His eyes narrowed. Fighting? Out here? Without hesitation, he strode toward the source of the commotion. Outside, chaos unfolded. An old man in white robes, his face contorted with rage, was chasing after another man drenched in blood, Lu Jinxiong. The old man's voice boomed, each word dripping with murderous intent. Lu Jinxiong, you killed my brother Zhao and 2 other Foundation establishment cultivators from the Shingang sect. Stop running and accept your death. Lu, visibly weakened and coughing up blood, spun around, his defiance undimmed despite his injuries. If you're going to kill me, just do it. Don't waste your breath accusing me of things I didn't do. His words were brave, but his body betrayed his limits. The old man sneered. This is the end for you. Severely injured, out of pills, and still standing? Impressive. But let's be honest, you're out of time. Before the old man could land the killing blow, a flash of red streaked through the air like lightning, a whip. The sheer speed and force of it caught the old man off guard, and though he managed to raise a magical shield in time, it shattered like glass. The whip didn't stop there. It sliced across his wrinkled face, leaving a gash that made him stumble. Gritting his teeth, he barely had a moment to recover before a giant fiery red hand materialized above him, slamming him into the ground with such force that blood sprayed from his mouth. The old man struggled beneath the crushing weight of Chu Xian's spell, his body trembling as he tried to resist. Lu looked up, his vision blurry, and muttered in disbelief. Chu Xian? You've advanced to the Foundation establishment stage? But before Lu could process what was happening, the old man gritted his teeth and chanted a spell, summoning a burst of blue energy that sliced through the fiery hand, pinning him down. Blue Cloud Divine Sword. The spell shattered the oppressive force, freeing him. Lu's expression darkened with worry as he watched the 2 cultivators face off. This isn't good. Sunshire's foundation has been stable for years, while Chu Xian just broke through. This could turn ugly fast. Sunshire, the old man, glared at Chu Xian with a mix of anger and fear. I should have killed you back then. Letting you escape was my mistake. I never imagined you'd break through so quickly. But no matter. Today, I'll finish the job and kill you, you arrogant upstart. He raised his hand, summoning a flurry of glowing swords that shot toward Chu Xian with deadly precision. But instead of striking flesh, the blades passed through Chu Xian's form like smoke. Sunshire's eyes widened in shock. No. An escape skill? As realization dawned, it was already too late. Chu Xian reappeared behind him in a blur of motion, his whip slicing cleanly through the air and severing Sunshire's head in one swift strike. Even as his head fell, the old man's lips trembled, trying to form words. How did you? Chu Xian wasted no time. He extracted the old man's soul, examining it with cold detachment, condensed and strong. Much better than the trash I've been collecting. Maybe this one will finally work for the soul-shackling cord, turning his attention to the stunned Lu. Lu's voice was shaky but filled with awe. Chu Xian, I didn't think you'd win. The last time I saw you, you were only at the 9th level of Chi refinement. Chu Xian, his tone cold and dismissive, replied, Ouyang Hao had a foundation pill. I took it and broke through. That's all. Pure coincidence. Lu laughed nervously. Built your foundation with just one pill? That's insane. Your growth is unprecedented. But then his tone grew serious. By the way, when Sunshine was chasing me earlier, he accused me of killing several of his junior apprentices. Was that? Chu Xian cut him off without hesitation. It was me. His bluntness made Lu break into a cold sweat. You took them all out? Cultivators who've been at the foundation stage for years? That's incredible. If I bring you to the ancestor, I'm sure you'll be made a personal disciple. Chu Xian remained stoic. Speaking of the Golden Core ancestor, is there any news? Lu nodded. Yes. But this isn't the place to talk. Follow me. Back at the Wuji sect's hideout, nestled in a forest cave, the atmosphere was lively. Disciples rushed to greet Lu, their faces lighting up with relief. Uncle Lu is back. I told you he'd be fine. But their excitement turned to shock the moment they spotted Chu Xian. Junior brother Chu Xian? You're here too. Brunette guy chimed in. Senior brother Chu, weren't you stopped by the Shingang sect's blockade? Melon guy asked, but Lu silenced them with a raised hand, introducing Chu Xian with pride. Chu Xian has now reached the foundation stage. Thanks to him killing Shingang sect's Sunshine, I was able to return alive. Not only that, but he's taken care of several other enemies along the way. With such achievements, Chu Xian is promoted by one rank in the sect. From now on, you will address him as Uncle Chu. The disciples quickly bowed, their voices a mix of awe and respect. Greetings, Uncle Chu. Congratulations, Uncle Chu. Chu Xian's gaze fell on one disciple who hadn't joined the chorus, Su Ming. His voice was icy. Su Ming, you didn't shout. Why? Su Ming stuttered, his face pale. Uncle Chu, Chu Xian didn't let him finish. His whip lashed out, piercing through Su Ming's neck with brutal precision. The disciple fell lifeless to the ground as blood pooled around him, leaving the others frozen in fear. Lu stepped forward, his voice tinged with shock. Junior brother, what was that for? But before Chu Xian could reply, another disciple spoke up, his tone filled with anger and disgust. Proper kill. When the Shingang sect interrogated us earlier, it was Su Ming who betrayed Uncle Chu's identity. Another chimed in, piling on. Uncle Chu let him live this long? That guy was lucky to even breathe after what he did. Lu finally nodded in understanding. So that's how it was. Junior brother Chu, I'm sorry for what you endured. Chu Xian's voice was calm, but the cold edge in his words was unmissable. No need to apologize, senior brother. If Su Ming dared betray me once, he'd betray all of you in the future. Such behavior is no different from betraying the sect. He deserved to die. Today, I'm merely enforcing the sect's rules. Let this be a warning. Don't follow his example. The disciples, once boisterous, were now silent, their faces pale with fear. Sensing the tension, Chu Xian's demeanor softened slightly. In addition, I have some good news. I found a lot of blood beads on the Shingang sect's men. Hundreds of them. I've already reached the foundation stage, so these little beads are of no use to me. I'll give them to you. The disciples' eyes lit up with excitement, their earlier fear replaced with gratitude. Thank you, Uncle Chu. Thank you so much. As they eagerly accepted his gift, Chu Xian allowed himself a small, knowing smile. These scraps might be useless to me, but they're enough to win their loyalty. Let them celebrate. They'll need it for what's to come. The air was thick with tension as a mysterious figure stood in the shadows, observing the chaos unraveling before him. His voice was low but laced with admiration, muttering to himself as if chronicling the moment. He used both kindness and force, and he didn't hesitate to kill when necessary. Congratulations, Wuji sect. Looks like you've picked up another prodigy. His words hung in the air like a quiet storm, drawing Chu Xian's attention. Turning to the shadowy figure, Chu Xian narrowed his eyes and asked, Who is he? Before Chu Xian could say more, Lu jumped in, practically buzzing with excitement. This is Wu Ku, the head of the Wu family. His voice carried the energy of someone who clearly respected the man. He risked his life gathering intel on the ancestor and got hurt pretty badly in the process. He's been recovering here since. Chu Xian, his expression softening into gratitude, nodded respectfully toward Wu Ku. Thank you for your help. Wu Ku, ever composed, returned the gesture with a slight bow, his palms pressed together. No need to mention it, he said coolly, though his thoughts revealed a sharper edge. This young man is extraordinary. Making him my enemy in the future would be unwise. Chu Xian, however, was all business. Fellow Taoist Wu, is there any news about the sect's ancestor? Wu Ku didn't waste time. The Golden Core ancestor, Wan Wuying, is also your senior brother Lu's master. He's been captured by the Shingang sect and is currently imprisoned in Yinwu village, to the north of the Yinwu mountains. Chu Xian's brows furrowed in disbelief. Imprisoned? They left someone alive? His tone was sharp, almost disbelieving. Lu's face twisted in anger as he gritted his teeth. The Shigeng sect, those fucking hypocrites. All they care about is sword chi, and the best way to temper it is through battling evil spirits. Wuka's voice cut through Lu's anger, his own fury bubbling to the surface. That's not all. The leader of the Shigeng sect is using the special physique of our ancestor to extract his blood repeatedly. He's feeding it to an evil spirit to strengthen his sword chi, hoping to break through to the nascent soul stage in one go. The revelation hit Sichu Xian like a bolt of lightning. Outrageous! He roared, his voice echoing with fury. But deep inside, his thoughts were colder, almost sardonic. Ha, somehow that fits their idea of righteousness. Lu, unable to hold back, exploded. Right now, Yunwu Palace is only guarded by 4 Foundation cultivators. The leader only shows up once a month to draw blood. If we avoid him, there's nothing to worry about. Junior brother Chu, let's join forces to rescue Master. Sichu Xian rubbed his chin thoughtfully, his calculating nature kicking in. But there's only the 3 of us at the Foundation stage, against 4 of them. Not to mention the defensive array around the palace. The odds of success are not great. Lu, refusing to back down, pointed out another potential ally. We have one more. She's the disciple of the first ancestor, and is at the 3rd level of the Foundation stage. Sichu Xian's mind immediately connected the dots. She's the one with the best aptitude among all Foundation disciples. If anyone has a shot at reaching the Golden Core stage, it's her, senior sister Li Xianwei. Lu continued, his determination unwavering. I've already contacted her. She left worldly affairs behind, but for the sake of rescuing the ancestor, she's willing to come back. The only condition is that Ancestor Wan accepts her as his eldest disciple. Lu dropped to his knees, bowing his head deeply to Sichu Xian. Please, junior brother Chu. With you, we have the numbers. After this, I'll personally ask Master to accept you as his disciple. Sichu Xian quickly moved to pull him up, his voice steady but firm. Senior brother, get up. If I ever hope to reach the Golden Core stage, I'll need skills only the ancestor can teach. Don't worry, I'm willing to go through hellfire and back for this. The plan began to take shape, and soon they stood at the edge of Yunwu Manor, the wind whipping around them. On a cliff overlooking the city below stood a lone woman. Her presence was magnetic, her aura commanding. Lu bowed deeply. Greetings, senior sister Li. Li Xuanyue's gaze swept over Sichu Xian, her eyes lingering for a moment as a faint blush crept onto her cheeks. Impressive, she said, her voice calm but tinged with admiration. Reaching the Foundation establishment stage under such conditions is no small feat. Without another word, she tossed a mirror to Sichu Xian. The skies over Yunwu Manor are protected by a formation that suppresses demonic cultivators. This treasure, the formation-breaking mirror, can locate the flags of the formation. Since you've just reached the Foundation stage and lack strength, focus on breaking the formation from the perimeter. Sichu Xian caught the mirror, his mind already working. Just as I hoped. With others leading the charge, I can act as I see fit. Out loud, he said. As you wish, senior sister. Li Xianwei turned, her voice sharp as she outlined the plan. Inside the manor are 4 Foundation cultivators. The strongest is at the 3rd level, the weakest has just broken through. I'll handle 2 of them. The other 2 are yours. If there are no objections, let's move. The group nodded in unison. Understood. The battle erupted in a flash of chaos. A massive explosion lit up the sky, a golden mushroom cloud rising high above. The shockwave shook the ground as a voice screamed. Who dares intrude on the forbidden grounds of the Divine Sword sect? Another voice shot back, dripping with mockery. Your dad, that's who? Watching the chaos unfold through the mirror Li Xianwei had given him, Sichu Xian's eyes glinted with resolve. It's time. Summoning his magical tower, he called forth his trio of zombie minions. Xiao Bao, Xiao Long, Xiao Hu, go! As his undead warriors charged into the fray, Sichu Xian thought to himself, the situation's too chaotic to waste my own spiritual energy. Best to outsource the dirty work. Meanwhile, amidst the battle, Lu shouted to Li Xianwei. Senior sister, the formation's suppression is gone. She smiled faintly, a small blush betraying her thoughts. Good. Junior brother Chu works faster than I expected. Her demeanor shifted instantly as she lunged forward, piercing one of the Divine Sword sect cultivators through the chest like a skewer. The man's companion, panicked and drenched in fear, screamed, Master Wei Kong, the formation's down. If you don't act now, we're all dead. From deep within the temple, a golden light flared. A sword burst forth, cutting through the air with terrifying speed. A voice, cold and commanding, followed. Foolish! I was waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and you ruined it. The sword shot toward Li Xianwei, but she dodged at the last second, the weapon returning to its owner like a boomerang. From the shadows emerged a monk, his golden aura radiating power. Li Xianwei, he said, his tone sharp. Benefactorly, we meet again. Si Qiuxian, watching from a distance, muttered to himself. Hui Kong, the battle monk from the Golden Dragon Temple. A genius on par with senior sisterly herself. They've clashed before, and he's got more wins than losses. Li Xuanyue's aura flared, a mix of purple and pink energy swirling around her as she shouted at the monk. Hui Kong, your Golden Dragon Temple claims to be compassionate, yet here you are, colluding with the Divine Sword sect, imprisoning cultivators, and feeding their blood to ghosts. Hui Kong's golden aura burned brighter as he retorted, his voice steady but sharp. Nonsense! This monk is here to slay vengeful spirits. I know nothing of imprisoning cultivators or blood-feeding ghosts. But you, demonic scum of the Wuji sect, have delivered yourselves to death's door. The monk's cold sneer twisted into something far more dangerous as he hurled his pearl bracelet towards Sisterly, Lu, and Wu Ke, his voice booming with a sinister edge. Allow me to send you all to your graves. The bracelet tore through the air like a blade. In a flash, Wu Ke's hand was severed clean off, blood spraying as he cried out in pain. The bracelet hurtled toward Lu next, but his magical cloak flared to life, deflecting the attack just in time. Sisterly, however, moved with an almost ethereal grace, vanishing momentarily before reappearing a few paces away. Her skill, Shadow Step, saving her from what had been a near-death strike. Barely catching her breath, Sisterly's thoughts were racing. This damned Hui Kong. He intentionally let us burn through our spiritual energy. Now he's making his move to clean up what's left of us. Her eyes darted to the horizon. Reinforcements from the Divine Sword sect and the Golden Dragon Temple would arrive soon if they didn't wrap this up. Her grip tightened on her weapon, and she summoned her life-bound artifact, a black flag that seemed to crawl with an ominous wind. Leaping into the air, she screamed, "Out of my way!" With a burst of power, she unleashed the black wind banner, its smoky tendrils swirling like a violent storm around her. But Hui Kong didn't flinch. His muscles bulged as his aura erupted in golden fury, his body glowing like a super scion ascending to a higher form. Running? Did you ask this monk for permission? His voice thundered as he launched himself at Sisterly, his sheer speed blurring his figure. Before she could counter, his strike landed with devastating precision. Her flag splintered in her hand, its shards scattering like broken glass. Her body hit the ground hard, rolling as smoke and debris exploded around her. Her robes were torn, her weapon destroyed, and her energy drained, but her spirit remained unbroken. Hui Kong stalked toward her with a smug grin, his voice dripping with mockery. Benefactorly, prepare to die. Struggling to lift herself, Sisterly glared up at him, her voice ragged but defiant. Suppressing evil mark, you've actually mastered this technique? No wonder you dare face 3 of us alone. So, this was your trump card. Her words were bitter, her mind racing as she realized the monk's terrifying advantage. Hui Kong raised his sword high, its edge gleaming with murderous intent. His red, devilish eyes glowed as he prepared to end her. But just as he brought the blade down, his body froze, his instincts screaming danger. Something was coming, fast. Summoning his golden bow artifact with a flick of his hand, he prepared to block the oncoming attack. But it was futile. A devastating strike pierced straight through the bowl, shattering it like brittle wood. The whip that had torn through his defense crackled with dark energy, and its owner stepped forward from the shadows. Chu Xian? Sisterly's voice carried a mix of disbelief and awe. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, a faint blush colored her cheeks. He didn't run. He didn't abandon us. He waited for the perfect moment and destroyed Hui Kong's suppressing evil mark in one flawless strike. Hui Kong staggered back, clutching his chest where the whip had left a searing wound. His fury boiled over as he growled, "Brat, who the hell are you?" Chu Xian didn't answer, his silence more menacing than any words. Instead, he surged forward, his hand igniting with a fiery claw of dark energy. The monk's confidence cracked as he retreated, barking, "Dark fiend claw? Laughable! Do you think such a low-level technique can even scratch me?" A Divine Sword sect lackey, watching from a distance, chimed in with a sneer. "So slow. I doubt that thing can even graze the hair on Master Hui Kong's head." Chu Xian ignored the taunts, muttering to himself, "Dark fiend energy," as the claw shimmered with an ominous crimson flame. Without hesitation, the claw clamped down on Hui Kong, its sinister energy wrapping around him like a vice. The monk's body convulsed violently, and before he could even react, blood erupted from his mouth as the claw tightened, crushing him. A stunned Sisterly watched the scene unfold, her voice brimming with admiration. "What a clever move! Junior brother Chu first used spiritual energy to form the Dark Fiend Claw, tricking Hui Kong. Then, at the perfect moment, he infused it with Dark Fiend energy, turning it into a lethal weapon. Lu, pulling off his magical cloak, looked equally amazed. Where did Chu Xian even get such potent dark fiend energy? Hui Kong, still pinned in the claw's grip, roared in rage and desperation. Cunning demonic bastard! I'll rip your guts out! Summoning his final treasure, the Vajra beads, he called forth a glowing shield of golden light that surrounded him. But Chu Xian wasn't fazed. With a flick of his wrist, his whip cracked through the air like a thunderbolt, obliterating the beads in an instant. The shattered fragments rained to the ground as Hui Kong's face twisted in horror. Chu Xian's expression darkened, his voice low and deadly. Die! The whip lashed out again, its tips slicing through the air with terrifying precision. Hui Kong's bravado crumbled as he stammered. If you kill me, my master will hunt you to the ends of the earth. His words were cut short, quite literally, as the whip cleaved his head clean in two. Blood sprayed in a gruesome arc as his body collapsed lifelessly to the ground. Chu Xian stood over the fallen monk, his whip coiling back like a serpent. His voice was cold, unyielding, and filled with disdain as he spat. Do you really think I'm the type to be intimidated by empty threats?